while we're on the topic, I guess I should run to the bathroom too, because I also got.
Yeah, everyone just take care of whatever you need before we.
You're like. All right, recording now. I just stopped recording. I'm an idiot.
Let's start with a fantastic way by turning the recording software off, Raph.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. It's what I do.
All right. Hello, everybody. It's the Venom Xenomorph, and welcome to the first episode of the Fog Wanderers podcast. We're here with a quite amazing cast. We're obviously here with RaphyYT. We're here with Pixel the Lore Guy, Tooten, and WheatDraws as our guests. So, say hello, everybody.
Hey.
Hello.
And we're gonna go ahead and just hit it right off with like Raphy. What do we want to start with?
I think we should just start with our basic questions. Number one, how were you first introduced to Dead by Daylight?
Okay.
And we'll start with Pixel.
Fantastic. Well, I've been a horror fan since I was searching on the Saw wiki at 10 years old for some reason. But I watched a lot of Bricky Orchid Ape because I played a lot of League of Legends for quite some time. The pelting of the rotten fruit can start now. And so I saw him playing DBD. I followed the game quite avidly before I actually ever downloaded it. It was only when the Saw chapter landed, and I saw, oh, it's Amanda, because I was besotted with Saw at the time, that I took a look into the game and downloaded it. I ironically didn't enjoy playing Pig that much, but that's what set me on track. I had a couple of hiatuses before I really got into the game properly, but it was just watching Bricky having fun with janky old killer stuff back in early 2018, and
back when
that bug
killers
never
were
really
actually
left.
broken.
Well, yeah, of course.
All right. That's a proper introduction. I like the Saw connection.
Yes, I do too. All right, so now we'll go ahead and go to Tooten. How were you first introduced to Dead by Daylight?
Like Pixel, I'm a huge horror fan. My favorite horror movie franchise is actually Halloween. Michael Myers. So one day I was on Steam, as you are most of the time, and I was like looking, I'm like, is there a Halloween game? Is there a game where I can play as Michael Myers? And conveniently enough, Michael Myers had just released on Dead by Daylight. So I got it, started playing it, never stopped. And now I'm addicted. This is an AA meeting, right?
Tooten, me and you gotta talk. Remind me when the stream's over. Me and you gotta talk one-on-one.
Hell yeah.
About that Halloween stuff. But yeah, I totally agree with that too. Halloween is definitely it's bouncing back, huh? Because the movies.
Yeah,
it
really is.
Bouncing back.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I'm so excited for Halloween Kills. Good lord.
Got the day off for next Friday, which is recording. This is the 9th. Putting those out for
Yeah,
people who care about
yeah,
their
that's important. The 9th of October.
May 21.
All right.
Next, Wheat, how did you get introduced to the world of Dead by Daylight?
So I didn't play until much later, and it was, I started on PlayStation, so I was always on console, and I had gotten into Friday 13th because it was free that month for PlayStation Plus, and and I always thought Dead by Daylight was like a ripoff of the Friday 13th game, so I just didn't acknowledge it until it became free the next month. And I got into it through that, and it was right about after Clown came out. I believe I was there for the mid chapter then, but I can't be sure. And I started around then, and it was when I had a lot of time on my hands, and I just no-lifed the game for so long, and then I started to even out, and then that's just my introduction. So my first DLC was Spirit, and Adam Francis, who is one of my favorite survivors.
Nice.
All right, nice. All right, and since it technically is episode 1, I think it's fair that me and you should do this too. Venom, how about you? How about you start us off? How did you get introduced to Dead by Daylight?
Oh, me first? I was going to ask you. I was going to be the creme de la creme. But if you want me to go first, I will. What's it called?
Punch.
I was introduced to Dead by Daylight in, like, the old, like no licensed DLC years. Like the Hag just got introduced was when I first learned about it. It was with Markiplier. Markiplier, Bob, and Wade all streaming the game. And like no raw rubbing. It was like the most iconic thing that I can remember from that. But I had a really crappy tech setup the whole time. Like I did not have a powerful enough computer to run the game, even though the game didn't really need that much to run it. And I didn't have a console that supported it yet. And then when they released, I believe when they released the Halloween DLC, maybe like a few weeks prior to them releasing that DLC, they had gotten approval to move it over to consoles. So pretty much as soon as it was available on PlayStation was the first time I got to play it. And like I said, the Halloween DLC had just come out at the same time. So that was like my killer main for a long time. and then they started adding cooler stuff, and that's like in terms of mechanics and stuff. That's when I really got into it. But I've known about Dead by Daylight since pretty much its birth.
Nice. All right, and then I ended up finding Dead by Daylight through Vanoss Gaming. Actually, I've been subscribed for forever, and I'm more of a recent horror fan more than anything. A few years ago, I would not touch a horror movie like 6-7 years ago because I was a fraidy cat. It wasn't until I started watching Child's Play to get over my fear of Chucky that I started falling in love with the world of horror. And so when I saw that they were playing this game, I was like, "Oh, that's really cool! It's a game full of slashers." I never really got into it until like they started putting Michael in the game. I'm like, "That's cool." I didn't get excited about it until they were bringing my favorite horror movie character at the time, which was Leatherface, into the game. And
Right.
at that time, I just got it for console. He was just coming out, and he was so much fun then. And around this time, I think this one when they were having Halloween, or they were already teasing Freddy Krueger, was when I started playing.
Nice.
So very, very like midway through early Dead by Daylight on consoles.
Yeah.
So that's when I got into Dead by Daylight.
Yeah. Good introductions to Dead by... I like how everybody kind of got introduced around the same time. Like, I find it hilarious that Wheat thought that Dead by Daylight was a knockoff of Friday the 13th. That's
Right.
hilarious.
I mean, I just see the cover and it's like, yeah, that looks like it looks like not Jason.
Rip off Jason.
Yeah.
Jason.
Not Jason.
I'm drinking water over here, Jason. Okay, so I guess how long has everybody been playing Dead by Daylight? So I think that kind of answers the question for itself, huh? In terms of everybody being introduced to the game at a certain point. Like,
Yeah, I think everyone kind of answered that there.
Kind of, yeah.
yeah. Okay.
That list didn't need to be there.
What in everyone's opinion, starting with Pixel obviously, is what is your opinion on the game's current health? How stable do you think Dead by Daylight is right now in regards of like killer balance, survivor balance?
I truly believe it's the best it's ever been, and I think that's the safest way I can put it. Is it's the best it's ever been. Could it be better? Absolutely, and it's slowly getting better. The issue is less that the wrong changes are happening. For the most part, the changes are excellent, but it's just the time that they're taking. And the new chapter is actually a really great indication. Like, who'd have thought Spirit gets dethroned? Like, she's been a menace since she came out, and she's finally getting made reasonable.
Yeah.
And it was the same with Decisive, same with Object. These were bugbear perks for a very long time, and they've been reined in, and it's fantastic. Is the process complete? Absolutely not. There's still a whole lot of stuff they need to look into, especially a certain clutch of survivor perks. But overall, it's looking good. If they continue on the current trajectory, I think we'll be in a very good spot. Otherwise, the only thing I'm worried about is the amount of time that will take.
Yeah.
And I think that's a concern a lot of people share.
Yeah.
But the new mid chapter and the amount of changes in it gives me a lot of hope that they're at least aware of how little these updates often give us, and hopefully we'll see more changes. Maybe not as big as mid chapter because this one was huge, but
Right.
Hopefully we'll get to see some more positive game health changes coming.
Sounds right. All right. Tooten, I believe you're next.
Like Pixel said, man, this game has gotten so much better. Like, this game is objectively better than it was in like 2016, 2017. You dudes that have been playing long enough know that it was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. So I mean, the game has gotten objectively better. Of course, there's still those things that piss me off. You know, changes that I'd like to see expedited, like taking the invincibility frames away from Dead Hard. Stupid things like NOED being changed or whatever else. But
hitboxes.
Yeah, hitboxes. But overall, this game has came so far, and I think the current state of the game, even with the problems that people have with skill-based matchmaking, I think it's in the best spot it's ever been. Especially with this mid-chapter update, it's insane.
Yeah, the mid chapter definitely is a beast. Like this is definitely one of the more ambitious mid chapters that they've done. They've always taken those times to take breaks and do something big, something small, and this one they've just been doing back-to-back huge, you know. All right, Wheat, what about you? What do you think?
I'm all in the same boat. I think the game is in probably the best spot it's been. It just keeps getting better, and the next patch has a lot of promising things. It's just not where I think it should be,
Yeah.
considering the age at this point, and a lot of the like. I'm coming from someone who plays on console, so there's still a lot of issues that I have that that I wish would get fixed,
Mm-hmm.
and doesn't seem like they're getting around to it. But like it's different for everybody because of different hardware or different platforms.
Right.
But overall, I think it's heading in the right direction, especially with this new patch. If this is anything to point towards what behavior is trying to do, so I'm pretty excited.
I couldn't agree more about the age of the game being like kind of a negative omen over it, because we have other games coming out that, like, Dead by Daylight gave birth, I guess, like not in terms of that type of game of like the 4v1 PvP PvE element, but it definitely brought it to light, just like how League of Legends brought the MOBA genre to light. This did the same thing. But now that we're at this day and age where like we have the coding and the mechanics and everything now, with a proper understanding of how to make a game like that function very immersively without as many problems. Like, we have Evil Dead the game coming around the corner in February. It's a little worrisome that the game's this old and it hasn't tried to really jump the fence or get ahead of something like Evil Dead the game, because that one's coming out to look like a stomper on this.
It's taking like a leisurely stroll to get there.
Yep.
It's got its cane out and walking forward.
Yep. Raphy, what about you? What do you think about the status of the game at this point?
I honestly think I agree with everyone else. This game is in a really great health state. This is all it's going to be is Elvis Green, most likely, for this, because it really feels like they're starting to look into a lot of the stuff that's been bugging the game for a long time. So they're having some questionable changes in the past. You can tell they're trying to go in the right direction. They're just a little askew, but eventually they'll get back on that path correctly.
Right.
But like I said, it feels like they're kind of waltzing instead of like running or hopping that fence. There's so much more they could be doing if they just put the time and effort into it. Like, I understand they want to bring out new content, but it wouldn't hurt them to do like a whole dedicated chapter to fixing stuff in the game that we already have problems with.
Well, I think that I guess that's like a nice smooth transition to my opinion. I think that they're waltzing because they know they have immunity, I think is the right way to put it. Because Friday the 13th, yes, it's a huge license and everything, but there were a lot of things that went wrong with that game, like the lawsuit. Friday the 13th, the game itself, was actually really buggy, and there was a lot of issues with that and everything like that. I think Dead by Daylight is waltzing and taking its time to do this because they think that they're number one in the world right now in terms of what they can do. Like, their killer roster went from a couple unique killers that were like, oh, these are pretty cool, to, Pyramid Head, Pinhead, Leatherface. Like the horror icons of the century are all conglomerating on this one game. And I think that the reason they're taking so long is because, Evil Dead the game's coming out, that's just Evil Dead. We have Evil Dead, but we also have, and I think they're taking their time because they know that they're not going away anytime soon. I feel like that's the opposite of the League of Legends situation, where like League was like, we know we're not going to be around forever, we got to make sure we're on top of it, versus Dead by Daylight, it's like they know they're going to be around for a while, and they know that like they're going to be able to do stuff to keep themselves going. So that's probably why they're taking so long. But I do agree. I think that for where they are right now, it's definitely been better than the console launch days, where it was just horribly buggy, and like the hitboxes were we complain about the hitboxes now, but don't even talk about the hitboxes during launch on console. That was a nightmare. I have PTSD nightmares from that. And
they were bad.
And
Palette vacuum.
and
It's a ghost of it's the ghost of mechanics past.
and the whole idea of Dead by Daylight was just such a unique idea that I think it built a fast track for them to be able to build up revenue. And I think they're only just now taking advantage of that revenue. I think that like they're targeting bigger licenses. Like Halloween turned into a big property, so did, you know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so did Nightmare on Elm Street, but they all kind of started as cheaper movies, because that was the thing about horror movies, was horror movies are cheap. And it's they're super easy to make, and that's where they get the advantage of like, hey, can we use this guy in our game? And it's like, oh sure, for this amount of money. Now they're branching off into a new section, like they're doing horror video game characters, they're doing like and everything like that, and that's way more expensive because horror games are so popular. And so now I feel like they're starting to spread their resources in a good way, and I think that's a sign to, like, the fact that they added Nemesis and everything like that is a sign to come that there is going to be a lot of good stuff coming. It's just going to take a little more time. And
Exactly.
and it's a waiting game. Eventually there's either going to be a choice, which I'm pretty sure they've already made one, which is probably part of the script that we got going on here for the podcast. I think they've already made a choice at this point that will either make or break the game in the future, and that will reflect on how everybody thinks and everybody acts. So that's my thoughts on how the game, its current health is. The community is still toxic as hell, but what are you gonna do?
Right.
So if you could change anything in the game, what would it be, Pixel?
Oh well, I don't suppose any of you have heard of a killer. Well, actually, killers called the Twins. Well, suffice to say, I have some feelings about them, and admittedly, are they the most egregious issue in the game? No.
Mm-hmm.
Do I care and want them fixed anyway? I want them sorted out anyway. And the changes I advocate would actually be very simple. Basically, they don't need buffs, they don't need nerfs, they need polish. They need quality of life changes. Basically, behavior needs to finish the bloody killer. And a big part of that is if Victor is under a hook and someone hooked on top of him within 16 meters of, if Victor is like vibing idle and someone's hooked 60 meters away from him or closer, Victor immediately respawns on Charlotte as if he'd been kicked.
Yeah.
Because the issue, I think Victor camping isn't even particularly powerful. The problem with it is that it's annoying and accidental. Because if you get down with Victor and just leave him where you got the down, and that's near a hook, congratulations, you're camping the survivor without even meaning to do it. And that's annoying for you because you don't have him with you to chase, and it's annoying for the survivor because now unhooking is a nightmare. So just let him self-destruct him, have him redeploy on Charlotte when you hook someone on top of him. That is a change they absolutely need. Another thing is the hit cooldown, because when you hit someone with Victor and you down them from injured, you have a 5-second fatigue between being able to attack again. And if you choose to switch to Charlotte, you are hit with a 3-second fatigue of her waking up on top of that, meaning you're stunned for 8 solid seconds if you get down with Victor and want to switch to Charlotte to pick them up. It's so painfully long. It's like a decisive strike into a head-on. It's such a huge amount of time just for getting it down and choosing not to stun. It's painful. And that's actually the result of a nerf, because it was 3 seconds originally, same as missing, but they changed it to 5 seconds, revert that change.
Yep.
Wind it back to 3 seconds. And on top of that, they should let you switch to Charlotte during Victor's post-hit cooldown, so that if you get the down you want to pick up, you don't have to eat 2 stuns. You only eat 1. You choose to either eat Charlotte or Victor stuns, but never both. Because either you slug and you have the Victor cooldown, or you switch and you eat the Charlotte cooldown. That way, you're not punished with multiple fatigues just for choosing to pick a survivor up. You shouldn't be punished for playing the killer in an optimal and healthy fashion.
Right.
It's so absurd. I think these changes wouldn't be hard to do. Like, they've made more radical changes in their sleep before, like what they did with Trickster when they gave him changed half his add-ons overnight. Like, this would not be a hard change to do, but I just don't know why they haven't done it, because it's so obvious what the issues with the Twins are. It's so clear and they're so disliked that fixing them should be obvious. But nothing in the mid-chapter, probably nothing in the next mid-chapter, because that's Legion and Ghostface time. Like, they've had basically nothing since release. I don't understand it. Finish your goddamn killer.
Yeah.
Like, they've changed Trickster like every time Jesus blinks, and he's still garbage.
God blinks once, and they change
Oh yeah,
Trickster.
he's getting a tome before any of the other killers too. He just
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
I
is.
have
That's just playing in popularity.
I have a whole skeleton to pick with that. But just for once, sort twins out. They've needed it for so long, and it would be so easy to do. Just do it, please.
I personally agree with Schmuckles' opinion on the twins. During one of his latest videos, I'm a little behind on his videos, and it's mainly just because I've been so busy. But one of his latest videos, he mentioned how like the devs have sort of teased, or at least like related, Victor or Charlotte and Victor's relationship to a relationship potentially with Chucky, and how like that could be an experiment of a smaller killer being added to the game. And the only thing that I see stopping them from fixing twins is two things. The first thing would be if they pull off Chucky, then they're going to focus on Chucky, because they really like to pay attention to their licensed killers. And then the other thing is twins kind of died on the bed as soon as everybody got the perks, right? Like because it was unpolished, because it wasn't finished. Nobody was playing twins anymore, and they were like, okay, we got the perks, we're done with twins. Yeah. And I think the lack of playability, like the lack of players actually using twins, is in a weird, crooked, corporate way putting twins on like lower on the importance list.
Like it's a vicious cycle, but
yeah.
The mid-chapter gave me hope, because this time last year, that was Plague. Plague had the lowest pick rate in the game and had the second lowest kill rate behind Nurse, because she's a weird killer that plays in ways that a lot of killers don't find enjoyable. There's nothing wrong with her. She was a fine killer, and I was maining her at the time, but she was weird. And I needed some love. Like, but again, quality of life changes, not straight buffs, which she didn't actually get, thank God. And eventually, like, fast forward to now, and they did do it. They revisited Plague and made her, and gave her some polish, gave her a fresh coat of paint that she really did need.
Yeah.
And if Plague can get that, why can't twins get that? And with Spirit out the way, with Deathslinger out the way in terms of priority killer problems, twins have now shot up the priority list for killers that need some touch-ups.
Yeah.
And I can only hope, maybe not next mid-chapter, because obviously Legion and Ghostface are getting the spotlight there.
Yeah.
But after that, maybe as part of a chapter update, even like when there is something else. Oh, I mean, made some twins adjustments. Like, there is a higher chance than ever of twins getting the love they need, and I cannot wait to see what they do.
Yeah,
it just can't come soon enough. It really can't, because they've been out for almost a year now, and they're still not finished.
They need to make a what if episode called "What If the Twins Actually Got Fixed." Okay,
I actually have a bone to pick with the twins too. Another thing feels how polished is their perks that they came out with. I feel like they could have been a lot better than what they were.
For launch.
Why did they nerf Coup?
That was the weirdest decision.
Wait, they nerfed Coup?
It used to be 100%. It used to double your lunge range, and then they nerfed it to 60% at max.
That perk already doesn't sound good, even with 100.
It's dumb.
I think it would have been cooler if they would have made it every time a gen got done, kind of like Fire Up. You gained a token that would increase your lunge by like 10% up to like that 50%. And at the end of the game, you punish survivors with your.
You can get greedier with hits.
Yeah.
As the game progresses.
All right.
That would make it a more interesting perk, and it wouldn't be a waste of like tokens, because you only get 5 uses of it.
Yeah. Okay, so Tooten. I feel like we hovered over the twins quite a bit there. So Tooten, what would you want to change? Would you want to also change the twins? Is there something more specific that you would change?
Mine's a little different, and this is a hot take, so prepare.
Boy.
Short answer is I'd change Dead Hard. I'd take away the invincibility frames, get rid of the invincibility frames. This isn't a backdash in a fighting game. Get that the hell out of here. But
I get that, right?
But long answer is perks in general. I feel like perks, and again, controversial because this plays so much into what made Dead by Daylight popular, in my opinion, aside from the licenses. I wouldn't make perks as integral as they are to the gameplay of Dead by Daylight. I feel like people rely way too heavily on perks, and they can completely change a game around. I don't know what I'd do with it. I really don't have any recommendations, but I do like what VHS is doing with their perk system, where they're there, but they're more of an afterthought.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree with that too. I feel like a lot of players that grind for like what's it called? Shards, and then stock them up for whatever comes out on the Shrine of Secrets, have a bit of an unfair advantage in a way, because if a good perk comes out, like if decisive, because that's how I got, well, no, I got decisive because I got Lori, because that's how I started, but a lot of my friends didn't even buy the Halloween DLC, but they were able to buy decisive because it came out on the Shrine, and they went from being total noob trash to the game to actually being able to handle themselves, and it required no enhancement of skill, it required no playtime. It was just, oh, I got this perk that works, and then
I mean,
when you say friends, are you referring to? I think you're referring to.
Yes, my news team. Of course, I'm referring to my news team.
and that's the dumb thing for me. It's like you can rely so like it can literally take a bad player to a good player just on Dead Hard. And if you can't tell, I have a problem with this perk. It's my stream.
Killer mains be like.
I mean, I am a killer main, so
Yeah.
I do have to admit that. But it's like even Dead Hard, even if someone doesn't have it, it's so good that you still second guess whether you can hit that person or not. Even if you know the person doesn't have it, it's like, I'm going to wait the extra 2 seconds and give them potential to get to a pallet because I'm afraid of them dead harding. And not to mention, like, on the new players and everything else, like, when I came back to Dead by Daylight on PC, because I started on PC, then I went to Xbox. I came back to PC and I had up to Spirit unlocked. And it's like, I can't play this game unless I drop like $60 on all the new characters and the new perks just to keep up with all of the good players.
Yeah.
You know, it's a terrible feeling.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
What yeah, that's a great way of putting it. What about you, Wheat? What would you change, if anything?
I would probably unify the abilities and like perks that affect the end of the game. So like, for example, I've always had this like long standing hate for how some perks work, such as Rancor. Rancor at the end of the game, obsession is exposed, right? You can mori that.
Yeah.
But that only comes into effect only if the last generator is completed. If you shut hatch or something that just skips the last generator actually being done, then your Rancor isn't active.
Yeah.
It doesn't activate at all. And it's like, okay, well then maybe I should just read the perk. But then also, like, at the same time, why does NOED work regardless of... It works whenever the exit gates are powered. So those are two different, like, terminologies that the game things that the game's checking. And it doesn't feel like it's unified, or like it like, you know, there should be like here's the end game perks in this little area, and not like every single little sliver leading up to the actual end game.
Yeah.
And then top of that, I think with adjustments to make people go, okay, you have to get out, or you have to try to get out, put pressure on survivors after the last gen is done, because realistically they're the only ones who have control to open the gates. Even though Killer can open the gates, you're not going to want to.
Yeah.
I feel like the timer should start then, and then other things be balanced around the last gen causing the timer to start.
Yeah. I heard somebody wanted to add something. I heard somebody.
Yeah, I did. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I didn't. I know. No, one of the perks you're referring to, how it works, considering the hatch is closed or the door, is no way out. The Trickster's perk, if you shut a hatch, you get notified when someone touches the door, and if it's the last survivor, they're fucked.
Yeah.
And they know you're at the door, so they have no chance to mind game you at the door.
Even then, I also like that's something that I would personally change. I know I'm slightly skipping over Raphy's turn by saying this, but I would personally change the exit gates and like the way you escape. And that sounds weird, but let me explain. I feel like it should be a team effort. Like the hatch is there for the last guy, right? That is your escape if you're the last dude. And then because if you try to do the doors, the killer's going to get you because if they're watching the doors well enough, if it's a skilled enough killer, then if you're by yourself, if the hatch is shut, you're screwed, right? So when you have other people there and you have like the team there, when you're opening the door, you're just standing there, and that's fine, but that gives so much time for the killer to just be like, oh, he's not at that door, and then just go straight for you. And then if your teammates are there, like, your teammates obviously have to, like, if they're running a flashlight or whatever, they can blind the killer or do a good distraction, but the killer's obviously going to go for the one that's at the door. Yeah, that's just standing there and vulnerable, right? I would want to change the way you escape, because the way you escape has eventually become inescapable. If you're running the right kind of killer and you're running the right kind of perks, there's no way out. The only way out is if you're the last guy left and you're lucky enough to get to the hatch before the killer. So that's something that I would change, is like, even though that's like a major mechanic of the game and that would be really, really hard to change, I think that's something that should be updated, so that way skilled players, like people that are rank 1, you know, don't get 4 kills every single match, because then that just ruins the fun. So
Not to mention on that, what you said about the killer perks. Imagine if a killer runs no way out and whispers. Like, you're just not getting out of that match.
You're not leaving. It's game over. And that's all player choice. Like, that's all. So there's not even a point for the doors. Like, the mechanic itself would be useless because the player set it up for you to be screwed. So they need to fix that. That's something that I think that they should change if they're going to update themselves for these future games coming out, like Evil Dead the game and everything, that would actually stand a fighting chance against Dead by Daylight in terms of the popularity and the playability. They need to change the way you escape, because it's gotten, like, the gens and everything are fine. Like, them changing the way the gens work, and them changing. Thank God I don't have to break my controller over spamming X on the goddamn hook. Like, I am so happy about that. That's a change that I have been waiting for so long, and I'm so happy that they made that. But it would be so much, if they're able to make micro changes like that, they should make the exit gates a little more interactive than just standing there and holding a button, because then there's nothing you can do if the killer gets to you.
Yeah.
And Raphy, go ahead. I'm sorry that I skipped over you, but that's something that really triggered me. That was a fair point.
But that's
so
okay. Mine's to be fairly short. I have 2 and I would change, and they're very small things. Because most of the stuff I want to fix is getting fixed with this mid chapter, to be honest with you. So my main gripes would be, I want to be able to play with my mouse and keyboard on my controller because it's crossplay.
Mm-hmm.
And because I don't want to have to play on my computer, because my computer's a little laggy. But I've got that comfortable feel for my mouse. All my shit's over here on the PlayStation 4, so I wouldn't mind like having the mouse and keyboard integrate over the console like Call of Duty does.
I feel like that's a console problem more so than a Dead by Daylight thing. That like.
Okay, well, if we're going Dead by Daylight, then I don't want Pinhead to break his own hooks by walking into them.
That's
fair.
That's a good one. That's a fair one. Yeah, I think
that makes no sense. Like, why can't I go through my own, or get through my own hook, or like have it curve around me? Why does it have to break when I touch it?
Why can't I duck?
Yeah, I mean, we could use lore from the movie. He did duck under his chains. I mean, it fits.
Yeah, I think the keyboard and mouse thing is so strongly a game, like because that's not an issue for most games, right? Like if I plug my keyboard and mouse into my console to play Fortnite,
Leatherface, you constantly run into things because you're on Larry's.
Yeah, but like if I plugged in my mouse and keyboard to my console, it would work in Fortnite and it would work in Call of Duty. It would probably even work on Doom, but it wouldn't work on certain other games. And I think that's mainly the console developers' fault, like PlayStation or Xbox or whatever. I think that's something that needs to be a conversation between the devs of Dead by Daylight and the devs of the PlayStation or Xbox, to be able to like have that conversation and be like, okay, can we please integrate this feature? Because I agree with you. I think that would be very useful. I just don't think that's a change that Dead by Daylight would be responsible for. I think that's more of like
what I understand from looking into it, is that PlayStation already has integrated it. It's just a matter of patching in through the game mechanic and with the console. So it's more on they have to actually put the effort into like putting that mechanic in.
Yeah.
They got to integrate it in with the PlayStation. So they already have the stuff they implemented. They just have to do it. What I've read, I might be 100% wrong. Then again, I'm not the smartest person here. So
Right.
the big issue, Pinhead doesn't need to break his own chains by walking. That's stupid.
Okay.
That's fair.
Also, more Bubba noises.
More what noises?
Bubba noises.
Oh, Bubba.
Any particular kind of noise, or are you just a noise enjoyer in
A
general?
specific.
I want more pig-like noises, like like he does in the movies.
I'm glad you have such a clear image of what you want. Yeah.
I'm a Leatherface fan. Where I hook people in the basement. I'm a happy man.
I respect it. I respect it.
Yeah.
Give him a happy giggle when he hooks somebody in the basement.
just
that little change.
A little deep chuckle under his Leatherface mask.
That would be so good though, just to chuckle anytime you
Don't
someone
tell
on the
people that it's
basement.
in the game. Just let them figure it out.
Yeah.
Just a subtle, a sneak in, little sneak, and then when people notice it, they'll just be like, "Wait, did he just laugh? Did?"
That would be so good.
Okay, so obviously we're gonna move on to the next topic. We gotta talk about the mid chapter. We gotta talk about the new survivor coming to the PTB and coming to the game eventually. Pixel, how do you think this fits? I personally don't quite get how a witch would cross in against the entity, but what do you think?
As an avid lore in, I think Michaela has a bit of an identity crisis, where the witch identity I don't think works, because like we already have we already have an archetypical witch classic character, and it's the hag, and she occupies that niche so well that I don't think rare me complimenting Hag's design, I know. But I think Michaela, if we're meant to take her seriously as a witch, doesn't work, because she looks like she belongs on the cover of a teenage romance novel. But what I do like is her identity as an aspiring young writer. I love that. Like the fact that she doesn't really have it all together yet, but we still kind of like her anyway and want to see her succeed. That's something that we haven't had in a survivor in a long time. That sense of aspiration, that sense of wanting to find your niche in the world, and her story actually covers that super well with her being taken by the entity when she's reading a horror story. Like that works super well. But I wish they played more into that, because it's clear the witch angle was forced on to make moon totems work and to give her a Halloween-y feel. And I have an alternative suggestion if they wanted to do an actual proper witch survivor. While in the hag's lore, it talks about her grandmother, who kept the book of charms that Lisa eventually learned from, and that's how she has her hag magic, because she learned it from her grandmother's books. We haven't had an old lady survivor. The oldest female survivor we have is 30, and that's Jane. So why not? They could have, like how they enrich Spirit by bringing Oni into the game as her ancestor. Why not bring in Lisa's grandmother as a survivor, and use the story of and kind of continue Hag's story on from where that ended by talking about maybe her grandmother was looking for her, or thought she'd run away and was looking for her forgiveness. Like that we already have a witch angle already in the game. I'm amazed that they wasted it and chose to give us force it onto something that didn't need it. When Michaela is a great character without the witch identity anyway. I really wish they could have separated the two, but it's clear they were trying to push this Halloween-y, like cartoon witch angle onto Michaela, and I think that kind of ruins her.
It is the season of the witch.
I feel to add on to that. I personally feel like they kind of threw the witch aesthetic onto it to be like, we got to make the boons make sense, and then that was it.
Exactly right.
Bippity boofy, you're now a witch. Yeah.
To me, I mean, to add on to that, am I crazy in saying that I could not picture a witch as a survivor? Like,
No, I saw it as a killer. And
Yeah,
it had
I
no witch.
believe me. As soon as I heard the name of the chapter, right, the mid chapter, I was like, wait, are we gonna get a survivor with an ability, like one
Right.
that actually can do something against a killer? And no, it's just aesthetic. And
I mean, she obviously has the power. Like, she makes the book disappear.
Yeah.
Like, that's power.
Yeah.
You know?
That's just sleight of hand.
Like,
Yeah, she slipped it down the back of her shirt.
Watch this book disappear.
I think
It's like
I-
swallows the book whole. Disappears.
I just put my script up, and I think this is the perfect analogy. Is we went from an authentic shaman to a TikTok witch. And,
Oh
oh
yeah.
my god.
and,
That was my main theory, a shaman.
Lisa's grandmother. You needed one of them chicks.
I mean, he's got a fantastic point though. He's 100% right. I think that this survivor could have done without the witch aspect, and they could have like made her like a female Stephen King or something, right? Like
Yeah,
a
That would
young
have been sick.
coming up Stephen King author in the realm of Dead by Daylight, like that universe, but like a Stephen
Multiverse.
King character as like just this girl who's learning how to write, and she's reading these horror books for inspiration, just like Stephen King did. Like that entire aspect is so interesting. They really had to add a Halloween aesthetic, all because I already got Halloween vibes from the writer thing, because Stephen King. But I didn't need the witch. Why did you? I didn't need that.
Yeah,
I
like-
thought it was the witch. I thought it was gonna be Sabrina. Like we're gonna get a license.
Just
That'd be
the
amazing.
sigh, from Pixel was enough for me to know. That's
what
I agree with that.
That's what it was. It's like this makes no sense. Like she's like, so is she a writer? Is she? What's the whole witch angle? I don't get it.
Well, one thing that I kept thinking about is that how it's weird that obviously with Dead by Daylight you have to suspend your disbelief. Like, you know, the nurse can blink through reality essentially.
Mhm.
That like you have to just kind of be like, okay, you have to accept these things. But for them just to outright be like, yeah, magic's real is fucking weird. Like,
outside of the entity.
yeah, exactly. It's like wait, this is so she's doing this for real, and it's like, yeah, and it's what? Like
Right.
it's kind of jarring because it's
Oh my
everything outside the entity is like supposed to be grounded in a
like-
sense, but
They've gone from the Blair Witch Project to Harry Potter.
Yeah, right.
oh
like-
wow, yeah,
It's like the scene from Avatar where he like where he shows him a little stick and spins it, and wow, look at this.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
call me crazy. I'm actually down with the design of her, but the big ass glasses kind of threw me off at first. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, overly dorky, like fitting the stigma.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't have.
It's
to do
like
that.
what you see. It's like what you see in the classic movie of like, this is the awkward shy girl, but she's a Victoria's Secret model.
Exactly.
I feel like
She's from a teenage romance novel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's
She's
it's Bella. Okay.
she's someone's witch OC.
It's Bella.
Yeah.
It's
We're not
Bella from Twilight.
Justin.
That's what we got. That was our new survivor. Was Bella from Twilight.
I'm not too upset with Michaela overall, but I do think the whole like magic is real, like the blatant statement of that in her lore is like that's the weirdest part
yeah.
to me. It feels so weird for them to outright just say that and be like, okay, I guess.
Well, I
Magic
also,
is real, but she can't do shit to any
Yeah.
of these other
Well,
killers.
and I was just about to say, this goes back to the way I was thinking as soon as I passed it over to Pixel was them introducing someone with magical powers, like a survivor that has power compared to half of these other people who are just like, you know, totally stereotypical slasher movie, you know, survivors. They are survivors. This is not a survivor. The way that this character was written up, this character actually has some strength, or at least some hidden element of strength. This isn't a survivor. This is a competitor. And so it makes me wonder, lore-wise, I mean, how the hell that was implemented like into Dead by Daylight without some sort of consequence. Like the entity bringing in someone with actual power, is that like a sign to come? Like is
Well,
Michaela gonna start like some sort of weird uprising between the survivors and the killers and the entity,
Strong
or
potion
is it
killers.
too strong for that? Like, or is the entity way more powerful than that? Because
that's a good question. Like one thing that I think they made it too blatant. I think that's the only problem. It kind of reminded me of something like Stephen King. If you read a Stephen King book or watch a Stephen King movie, like in almost every movie, the kids have some type of ability, like The Shine and The Shining, Doctor Sleep, a connection that the kids have with Pennywise in some way in it.
yeah,
But they just made it too blatant here.
right, and I agree with that hard. Like, I mean, they made it in terms of the remake movies, they made it incredibly obvious. But if you read the
Yeah.
book and you saw the old movie, you know, there was a hidden connection, because the connection between it and the Losers Club, when they became adults, was the fact that they got away, that they encountered Pennywise and lived, and that's why they
Right.
still have that connection to Derry and everything like that, is because they survived. Um, we're missing that here. There's zero connection between her magical powers and the entity. There's no, there's nothing to make me think that whatever she's going through in terms of her being able to harness her witch side of herself, you know, it isn't connected. So that was such a useless thing to add. In terms of connecting it to Dead by Daylight, because the entity is this all-powerful being of fear, and like, if you said that the magic was like somehow related to the entity, like her powers came from the entity in some weird, dark, twisted way, I would eat that up. I'm sure Pixel would
Yeah.
too. That would be an amazing thing to break down lore-wise, like how the hell she got that power from a being
She's
that
the daughter
wants
of
her
Eden.
dead. And they totally skipped that opportunity to make it more interesting. It's just like, oh,
Right.
she's this emo, stereotypical model girl who doesn't
Because-
know who she is and can do stuff.
Because the thing is if they'd have kept the witch angle out of it completely and just focused on her as a person kind of growing up,
Mm-hmm.
that would have been fantastic.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
the thing is we've had a long line since Jane of adult professionals, and having someone who doesn't really have it all together yet, I actually really like that. Viewing Michaela in isolation of being Anne Witch,
Yeah.
I really do love the character, but I just can't shake the fact that she feels like two characters stitched together,
Yeah.
and it's not, and the stitch isn't clean.
Yeah. And it just, to me, I agree with that. I feel like that they experimented with that with Stranger Things. Rest in peace, the Stranger Things chapter, by the way, because now anybody that actually
Right.
owns that is an elite player, I would call them. Because if you know how to play Demogorgon right, you can demolish people. Like, I am a demo main, and I can destroy people, and now nobody can access demo anymore. Like, he's shelved. So rest in peace, that chapter. But I think that was the experiments for this, for the mid chapter. They were experimenting with a younger survivor, because Steve and Nancy are still in high school. Well, obviously in the show they're not anymore, but at the point that they were taken with the Demogorgon, they were still in high school. They were juniors or seniors in high school. So that was an experiment for them to bring in a younger survivor, I think, and that proved that we can work with that. Like, because you're right. A lot of the survivors that we added, or that the game added, are adults, like 20 to 30 to 40 year olds that all have an experience with whatever killer they got dragged in with, right? And Ash is like 60, and he's had experience with evil beings before, not exactly a killer per se, but an entity before. It's time that they start bringing in new blood. I just think that the way they brought in Michaela specifically was off. All right, so I feel like everybody was able to have their say so in that, unless anybody wants to add anything specific in terms of.
Yeah, I got one thing to add there.
Mhm.
You want them to expand on that, right? Like I do, at least.
Yeah,
you want them to expand on the character.
Yeah.
Well, next thing you know, they're gonna say that she was actually crazy and smothered her patients, and her insane asylum.
Oh, the nurse.
I knew that would get Pixel.
Oh no.
Please, please don't. Don't do this to me.
I watched that video. Good lord.
Okay, so we've seen a lot of original chapters in the game so far, with the trapper, the hillbilly, and the nurse, or no, not the nurse, the doctor. No. There was one more. I swear, there were 3 that started, right? It was Trapper.
Trapper, Wraith, Hillbilly, and
Nurse, and then
Nurse.
Michael came out.
Yeah, Nurse was technically the first chapter.
Okay. Okay, so technically Nurse would be the 3rd. So we had our first original 3, and then they followed this pattern where they would add a licensed thing and then a non-licensed thing. They have recently shattered that pattern. They did 2 licensed things in a row, 2 unlicensed things in a row now. So what, in terms of what kind of original killers and everything like that, is your favorites? What do you think is the most interesting, either lore-wise, gameplay-wise, Pixel?
Well, in terms of favorite original chapter, well, I think there's a difference between what I would consider the best and my favorite.
Okay.
Because I think the best is either Demise of the Faithful or Cursed Legacy.
Yeah.
Because they do everything right. You care about the killer and the survivor. They have good stories. Their powers are interesting and interactive. Their visual and sound design is gorgeous. The perks are usually quite good. Maybe Oni's being an exception, but everything just works exactly as a chapter should. But they're not my favorite. My favorite is Binding of Kin, and that's a very controversial take, I know, but I'm just so enchanted by the characters of Victor, Charlotte, and Elodie.
Yeah.
And the design both of the twins' power and of Elodie's perks, maybe less so twins' perks, they are so evocative of their characters in very unique ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like Elodie's perks aren't good, but they're fun. Like Power Struggle is a fun perk. Appraisal at Run Around Chest, that's a fun perk. It's synergy, it works with other stuff, rather than necessarily just being haha, me press E and me no get hit. And twins, so what about their power? Like what you might not like about it, but it is the most creative power they have ever made. It's so different from everything else. It's hard to even talk about what kind of killer they are, because Victor does 7 different things, but not all at once, and it's really weird. And Charlotte is neither Victor or Charlotte necessarily better than the other. They have their own merits. They run tiles differently. Everything is just so out there with how they work.
Right.
And the stories are fantastic because they contribute to the Black Veil narrative that they kind of abandoned after Twins, which is kind of sad. But the whole they build on the stories of Blight and Felix that came before, and build on each other and construct a whole picture of the entity and how it operates. And it's just it was tainted by a bad release. I will admit that.
Yeah.
But in terms of what it's given us long term, I can't help but love Binding of Kin. It's given me my favorite killer and my favorite survivor. My main, they're both my mains, and I just I know they're not technically the best made, because again they had some serious polish problems and Twins perks aren't that exciting. But I have to admit, I love it too much to care.
Yeah. I side with that really, really hard. I do think that the lore for Twins is insanely impressive. Just the amount of creativity there is in that story is amazing.
I think the best way to describe that chapter is high concept. That's what it is. It's a high concept chapter. Did it deliver entirely on that concept? I wouldn't say so. There are some obvious gaping holes, but you could tell that they made it because someone had an idea and thought, you know what, let's try it out. And that as someone who loves to create stuff, I feel that's so hard. Rehashing the same safe stuff over and over again, it's bland. No one likes it. I love the fact that they tried to do something really unique and in many ways succeeded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally get it. Okay, I think.
I'm back.
Okay, welcome back, Tooten. Sorry, I was just gonna double check that, but yeah. So, what do you think, Tooten? What original killer do you think is your favorite?
If I can cheat a little bit, and say they did license the mask,
Ghostface.
but Ghostface.
I think that's fair. That's totally
now
fair.
he can't be.
He has an original character.
Yeah, he has an original character. Now that it can't be my favorite original chapter because it didn't come with a survivor. The perks were kind of here and there, but the character himself.
It didn't come with a survivor either, but he's still considered a chapter. So.
Well, yeah, technically. I mean, but the character that they made for Ghostface, I think, is really interesting, even if it's a little bit cliche. I think it's very interesting. But if I had to pick one full chapter, it technically came with the game, and it's Trapper. He's always been one of my favorite characters.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I think Ghostface is a responsible thing to cheat with because, like you said, it's not Matthew Lillard from the original film. Like it's not anything like that. It's a character they had to invent themselves to fit
now
the
would
mask.
I've rather had Matthew Lillard talking about how woozy he was while chasing after survivors.
Oh man.
Yes.
I would have
I just imagine like his Mori or something, like all of a sudden, like while you're killing him, he just spurts out with, "I'm feeling a little woozy here, man." I love that.
I would have loved for like him to be like chasing you. He's just like, it's all about peer pressure, man. It's all about peer pressure.
It's all about peer pressure, man.
I do have to say though, Matthew Lillard is like top 3 actors for me.
Oh yeah,
I love the guy.
Love him.
Ultra Instinct Shaggy's now canon in Mortal Kombat. I will
I know.
say that now.
Good lord.
Okay, so Wheat, your turn. What do you think is your favorite original?
I would have to say it's tough, but I definitely would have to say like more so for Oni, it would have to be the Cursed Legacy chapter because like Oni is such an incredibly imposing figure.
Yeah,
and just like the lore alone is so interesting because of the sort of perspective and angles that it took, and then how it expands upon it through even just like add-ons that isn't mentioned directly in the lore.
Yeah.
His own lore, but like Oni, like just looking at him, it's like if Dead by Daylight wasn't already so set on like it's sort of like it's not a slasher, but this is like a figure I can definitely see like this is like horror in a very like cool way.
Yeah, he's scary.
He's terrifying. I think
he's terrifying.
Yeah,
I mean, even his power
walks out. His legs are shaking with every like stomp, and then even like Yui, like ready to fucking fight the world, she's still like sitting there, like slowly being terrified despite how ready she is, and it's just like, all right, sure. And I think it has some of the best presentation.
Yeah, I think Cursed Legacy is the perfect combination of lore and gameplay for them when it came to an original killer because the lore behind the Oni is terrifying, and that's true for a lot of the original killers that they've made, right? It's like the whole point is for you to be scared of whatever this being is, and the lore is already terrifying, but then they doubled up and made him like a one-shotter if you play with him long enough, and they turned him into an absolute beast to be around. It's terrifying. It's a perfect combination of both gameplay and lore. So
it's not just a one shot. He literally comes charging at your ass too.
Like he
he's like
yeah.
But I think that's one thing I like about Trapper though, is like his backstory. He's not just this imposing villain. Like he used to be a survivor.
Yeah.
You know, and that's like all the hooks in his body. I think that's why I like him so much.
I'm going to say one of my artsy things again. Most original killers are either men, as in humans, not necessarily blokes.
Yeah.
Either men or monsters. Kazan Yamaoka is one of the few that's both.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fair.
I don't know. I think Doctor's kind of both. He's kind of a monster.
Doctor, I think, left his humanity behind a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. So obviously, Raphy, what do you think? Do you agree with Tooten? Are you gonna cheat and go with Ghostface? Because I know that you love yourself some Ghostface. Or are you gonna go with another original one?
I'm going with the clown. I'm going with the curtain call.
Oh, of course he would. I remembered.
Kenneth.
You were a big
His
clown.
close connection. Not only is it like a love letter to the real world killings of like John Wayne Gacy and a lot of other he just as a person just seems like I don't know if you guys want the best explanation. I guess I'd say go watch because he does the best lore dive in the clown and how he is as a person and as a character.
Yeah.
And so, but he just there's something about him that I've always loved clowns, but I also like we're scared of him. Like it was kind of like a love-hate relationship with clowns, and he's kind of like terrifying. And also, one of my best friends I play with is terrified clown, so that's an added extra why he's my favorite. So it's just and he just has all this flair to him. He's a flair killer. Like the way he dresses is very flamboyant, and like, but he's also supposed to be terrifying because of coulrophobia, and his makeup's all sloppy. And the way he just brandishes his knife around, and especially when he hits, he like, flicks it around. It's just, he's my favorite. Like, he's enjoyable to play, and well, I don't know about now because, but other than that, he's fun and he's got a nice lore.
Yeah. I agree with that. For me, my favorite original chapter, was this is gonna be so weird. But the blight is
Oh, Descend Beyond.
yeah. The blight is like the most cool way of reinterpreting an old story. Like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde pretty much faded out of popularity after a while, because I remember it in like the early 2000s, right, when film was really take advantage of like their special effects and everything like that. They really used Jekyll and Hyde quite a lot, like a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Van Helsing. There was a lot of cool stuff that used that idea. And then the further we got into like the modernness and the being able to pull off more realistic interpretations of those types of characters, Jekyll and Hyde really slipped into the background, and nobody really cared about that story anymore.
Yeah.
And not only did they bring it back in terms of that being a cool story, but they added such a unique twist to it that the alchemist from Dead by Daylight lore from forever ago, ever since the first Hallowed Blight event, all of a sudden turning into a killer and turning into this Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde thing that was a twist. That I didn't expect. I expected him eventually to like do it on himself, but I didn't expect it so soon. Like, we only had how many Hallowed Blight events prior to him showing up?
3 total, counting the last one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So he did not have a huge amount of time to ramp up hype for him to turn into this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing, but it was still just enough. It was enough mystery behind the character for us to be intrigued by the alchemist, and then when he blighted himself was when it doubled down. And the gameplay mechanic too. Blight really is kind of underplayed. The pinball mechanic is so useful on the right map, especially ones that are like indoors, like the Hawkins Lab, or the Raccoon City Police Department. Like if you were running Blight on one of those maps, the survivors are totally screwed. But it also balances out. Like if you're playing on the swamp or whatever, sure, there's quite a lot of obstacles on the swamp anyway, but it's open enough where you could loop him, or you could drop a pallet on his face or something, you know. So it was a balanced. Probably not at the start. I know at the very start, Blight was really annoying, but he was very well written. The anticipation was really well built up with him, and then he did not disappoint gameplay wise either. Especially the fact that he kept using the Blight to power himself up for his ability. I thought that was an amazing twist. That as if somehow it was going to wear off, right? Like the skins and everything like that for the blighted killers, you know, like Blighted Ghostface, Blighted Legion, and everything like that. Those are permanent technically. Like if you put those skins on, lore wise, that's technically a permanent change. So him constantly adding the blight to himself as his power intrigues me and makes me think that maybe it's not as permanent. Maybe it is a temporary fix, and that he just keeps adding it because that's his life's work, you know. But that's the blight is just so interesting of a character to me. A really well invented way to rewrite somebody from years ago. Like if they, I know that they just teased Dracula in one of the tomes recently, right? Like they were at
Vlad the Impaler.
Vlad the Impaler's castle, and I was like, okay, now we're getting into this trend where like we're gonna start bringing back super old, like flown into the background types of monsters and killers, and then rewrite them in a way that's modern, and not only is modern but fits Dead by Daylight's unique twist on horror. So the Blight, I think, is the first step to that. So that's why I like the Blight so much. But what speaking of, like, you know, them adding like Dracula's part of the lore now and everything like that, what kind of original killer would you guys want to see in Dead by Daylight? What kind of killer do you think they should reinterpret and add, or just make completely from scratch in a way that would satisfy you? Pixel.
Well, I had I had 3 overlapping thoughts. This is before we actually got the teaser for a vampire, a more traditional Eastern European vampire killer.
Mm-hmm.
I realized a couple of things. One, we've never had a South American killer.
Like Brazil or
Brazil or Chile, Argentina, that neck of the woods. And we also hadn't really had a take on a vampire, which obviously we look like we might be getting it at some point, but we haven't had it for now. And also, I thought it would be interesting to see religion explored, because Plague does it a bit, but it's hard to really get to grips with the nature of her religion when it's dead for thousands of years. But so I thought, why not play with a South American, Brazilian mythology, and give us the Brazilian take on the vampire myth, the Azaman. And you could weave this into a historical domain character. The character I particularly thought of was a Spanish conquistador who raiding Brazil for gold, or raiding South America for gold and riches, but was cursed and turned into a vampire.
Yeah.
And the bit that really caught my eye was, I would love to see a vampire have to reconcile that with his Catholic faith. That would be so interesting.
That's an interesting angle. I like that.
And
I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
With using the notion of vampires as parasites as a metaphor for colonialism, while like still telling a personal story of a man who was promised like to be the chosen of God in exploring this new world, but realizing maybe that he'd bitten off a bit more than he could chew, and having a crisis of faith, using real faith and real atrocities in history as a backdrop. I firmly believe we need more historical domain killers, because it allows you to tell stories in a whole different context and look at issues in a whole different way while exploring mythologies from around the world. And that was the first thing that jumped into my head was Catholic conquistador vampire.
Yeah. I feel like, wait, hang on. Who the hell was Plague? Where was Plague from?
From
Babylonian.
Modern day
really?
Iraq.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought Plague
Yeah,
was
her
aesthetic looks very like the way her like crown or whatever is on her head, and like the mask and everything. I would not have been shocked if that was like Aztec. Like if that was Aztec or something, I would not have been
No,
shocked.
she's Babylonian.
Okay.
Nowadays that would be Iran.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense then.
She's Middle Eastern.
I agree with you on the real world kind of ties. I think that would be pretty damn
Like-
epic.
Like the Oni. A lot of Oni's
Yeah.
story of Kazan's story is about the Meiji Restoration and the fall of the shogunate.
Mhm.
That historical context is key to fully understanding the character.
Yeah.
I'd love to see more of that unexplored areas of history illuminated by a killer coming from there.
Yeah.
The rate is very similar with the Nigerian genocide, the Nigerian Civil War.
Mhm.
Just shining a light on areas of history that maybe us in the West might not fully want to understand because it's not something we learn about in school, whatever. It's not something that's in our field of understanding.
Right.
I really do believe in like DBD can tell all sorts of stories,
Yeah.
and it would be the sooner we get some South American rep, the better.
Yeah. I agree with that hard. Before I even say anything, has anyone watched Midnight Mass?
No.
Not yet.
Okay, this isn't a spoiler as much as it's just like a tie or like a relation that the show has that I would like to point out that goes off with Pixel's point. The show relates a lot to like the priest that's in the show keeps talking about rebirth and resurrection, and at the same time there's a lot of references to the plagues in Egypt, mainly the death angels, like the angels of death that God sent down to there's a lot of those references. I would kill for them to add like a vampire character to the game that was tied to something like that it was secretly an angel of death or something, and a relation to the real world in some sort of historical context would be absolutely sick, because that's my cup of tea. That's my kind of stuff. But Tooten, what do you think? What do you think on an original killer they should add?
Mine's a little bit less deep than that. Just a tad bit.
I'm sorry.
It's all good. You're the lore guy, man. Mine does play into some real world problems, I'd say. Currently and for like the past few hundred years, I'm Native American.
Yeah.
So personally, I would like to see Native American mythology explored. And I felt like this chapter with a potential shaman could have been the best point to actually do that. Introduced, and this is what I want for a future chapter, introduce a Native American shaman that has some type of mystical power, since magic has obviously been introduced, because Native American shamans are known for healing and casting out evil deities and whatever else, and add a Wendigo killer to the game. I'd love to see a Wendigo because it's one of the most scary creatures.
Everybody obsesses over the Wendigo. I
It's-
vibe with that.
See,
I thought about this. I'm more disappointed with sadly.
like the thing about the Wendigo is you see it so much in like Until Dawn, and you see it in Supernatural and stuff. But I don't even think those really capture how terrifying a Wendigo actually is in Native American history.
From what I understand, they're also like they're different depictions. Like they kind of take it and sort of morph it into what they want for their setting. Or
Right.
Yeah.
Like, Until Dawn was cannibals. And then,
Yeah, that's one of the most popular ones as a cannibal.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see that, and I feel like in the real world problems, I feel like Native Americans don't get some of the recognition that I feel like they deserve in video games and
Yeah.
some movies and TV shows. Like if you guys want a badass movie to watch, there's this Canadian horror film about Native Americans being
Oh.
the only people who are immune from zombies.
It's like Quantum something. I remember this.
Yeah, it's so weird, but it's so good. But
I'll check it real quick.
yeah,
Blood
because I'm
Quantum, that's what it
blanking.
is.
Yes,
Blood Quantum was great.
it was
I
so
need to
good.
rewatch that.
But I'd love to see Native Americans represented in some way in Dead by Daylight.
Yeah. I agree with
Now
that.
that you mention it, I'm surprised there isn't already like representation in Survivor at least.
Yeah.
Right.
Now that you pointed out, they've pretty much matched every kind of race or ethnicity except Native Americans at this point.
Not to be one of those people, but that's my point. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Holy
Sorry,
shit.
Who screamed? What was that?
My soundboard's fucking up. I just touched my keyboard, and one of my keybinds is the Oni roar.
Oh, that would have been fine earlier.
Well, I didn't know
That would work perfect.
That would have been great earlier.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
and-
lied. Okay, I lied. I've actually been downloading the audio files for like the last 20 minutes.
So while we're doing this, you're just downloading sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
the hell?
sitting here, I'm listening to Pixel's answer, and I'm scrolling through Twitter listening, and I see Raphy posting memes.
I can multitask.
Raffy,
I have,
the fuck? Focus.
I can't help it. I have ADHD.
I'm sitting here trying to listen to Pixel laughing because it was a funny meme.
I agree. I would argue yours is deep in the same aspect because by mentioning like they need to add like a Native American tie in games more often and everything like that. I would argue that's equally as deep because that's a real world connection, just like what we were talking about with like the vampire thing about like Angels of Death or whatever. Native Americans are history. They aren't acknowledged enough. They are history. They're American history. They're international history because like Native Americans, it's in the name. They were here first.
It's hard to bring up the conversation. It's hard to bring up the topic, even in Dead by Daylight, even in a video game, without people bringing up like the race card. Like, are you saying the devs are racist?
No.
And it's like, no.
Yeah.
Just want a Native American dude.
Yeah. No, I totally understand what you mean, and I believe me, I agree that you guys should get more of a presence in not only Dead by Daylight but video games in general. But it would be really, really cool to have it, as we were talking about earlier, like a shaman, right?
Yeah,
it'd be so cool to have like a shaman killer off of like Native American history, and then having a survivor, like a modern, like in a sort of similar way to the Oni, where like it's a legacy thing, because skinwalkers. That's what I think of when I think of Native Americans. I don't necessarily think of the Wendigo first thing because, like you said, I've been educated of the Wendigo through Until Dawn and their adaptations of the character. I don't know.
It wasn't bad actually.
Yeah, it's good interpretation, but it's definitely not word for word accurate to what the original myth is. But Skinwalkers, that story has not changed once since that like began and everything like that. And that would be an insanely cool one. I know that the devs said that they would never add like a killer that could blend into survivors or whatever, which that would probably be the ability for a Skinwalker. But
Rip John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah, but at the same time they said they would never add a clown, and then here we are with the clown killer. So there is hope. But that would be sick to have like a Native American presence in a horror game for once. Like that'd be really fun. All right, now we'll move on to Wheat. I feel like Wheat's been waiting too long. What killer would you want them to make an interpretation of or an original idea off of?
Just keeping it straight and simple. Pirate killer. I want a pirate killer.
Thank you.
Mostly because there are a lot of stories you could do with that in terms of aspirations and the promise of fortunes and what the risks taken, like having a new home, making a living, that type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And contrary to the popular stories of like, oh, there's always like the pirates who are all these like horrible people or they're just like raiders or something. Not all of them. A lot of times it was just they just got paid based on like what they hauled in, and it was sort of they had a sort of a function that I don't think gets explored very often or very truthfully.
Yeah.
So I would like to see something like that has that type of origin.
Yeah, that would be
just
really cool.
But yeah, just that's all I ever really need.
Yeah. I like that. Raph? Any say so on an original killer?
I think you and Pixel both know what I'm gonna say I want in the game.
What, another like related to the real world kind of killer?
I want a mascot the mascot.
Yes.
Oh my god, yeah,
Yeah.
you do. That's
What is
Fear
it?
of
That's what it's like.
okay.
maskalophobia.
He wrote it's a really cool concept.
I'll put it in the Discord chat.
He wants them to add kind of like a Five Nights at Freddy's ish character like Springtrap, where like it's a mascot, right? Like
Right.
this is something that people are familiar with, but an original one. So like instead of it being like a skin that the Legion got, where the Legion's wearing a bunny suit, it's an actual killer that wears a costume to kill people, like an actual mascot killer. And
Oh, that's creepy.
yeah, it's a genius idea. It definitely would be something new because like we have stuff like that sort of like the clown obviously is its own type of mascot because clowns brand themselves, right? And then we have Ghostface kinda because that's an original character, but he's wearing the costume of something that's licensed. But we haven't had anything that's like Willy's Wonderland or anything like that where it's a killer who takes the brand of something that would normally be like a kid friendly super happy kind of thing and then turn it on its head and like slaughter people. Like that would be awesome. So
The only difference between what I want and what they'll probably put in the game is my killer, the mascot, is the son of the clown.
right.
So
I like that though.
A sort of familial bond would be a really interesting thing to add. He just posted if you guys want to take a peek at that while
questions.
while I go
You
on
don't
to
have-
like my actual like thought of an original killer. If you want to look at that, you can. He added it. It's and many less. But for me, an original killer, if they're gonna add one, they need to add one that has like I guess has some real relation to the entity. I know that sounds weird, but like the alchemist has that connection where like he has studied the realm of the entity and turned into the blight, right? And yeah, and like there's a lot of stuff that they could do with like relations to the entity and everything like that. I would love to see a killer that pulls like a Doctor Strange from What If, where Doctor Strange notices the Watcher and everything like that, and how they actually have a conversation. I would love for them to add a killer that is like the hell spawn of the entity. Like the entity's like, okay, these killers aren't getting it done. I'm gonna send my own boy, and this thing would be horrifying, right?
That's probably what the spider killer they tease is probably gonna.
Yeah, I would love to see them take a monster or like a like I said, I would love for them to do a Real Ties thing like Pixel said. But I would kill for there to be a direct connection to the entity that we have to go against. Like whether it be a Pennywise thing where like we're fighting the physical portion or illusion of the entity, like we're not actually fighting the entity, but we're fighting a form it is choosing, or something like that. Like I would love to see something like that. Now we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next question. What about licensed content? If there was a horror franchise that we had to lean into heavily to make this game really shine, other than the ones that we already got, because I would argue that they've hit a lot of the bells and whistles already. But with Saw and Leatherface and everything like that, if you guys had to add a licensed killer from anything, who would it be? Pixel.
Well,
I thought we were supposed to talk about the favorites so far. Well, we already did. Never mind.
We already did that.
We did that at the beginning of the game. Yeah, we talked about the text yet. Never mind, I haven't did it yet.
Well, I think mine's got to be it's a little out of left field, but how many of you have heard of Sweeney Todd?
Yes.
Yeah.
Johnny
Yeah,
Depp?
definitely.
Yeah.
Sweeney Todd.
Yes. Well, the thing that interests me specifically is that Sweeney Todd is technically public domain.
Oh,
So-
I didn't realize that.
Right, because
Yeah,
it's a musical thing.
It's originally it was an urban legend back during back in Victorian London. And for those listeners who aren't aware, Sweeney Todd was an urban legend of a serial killer in Victorian London who would escort gentlemen of great reputation into his barber shop, put them in the chair, and cut their throat with a straight razor. Open a trapdoor under his chair, they'd send the body down a chute, and then his landlady, Mrs. Lovett, would turn them into meat pies that she would sell in her pie shop.
Yeah.
And the power of public domain means that they could make their, like they did with Ghostface, make their own completely unique take on Sweeney Todd if they wanted to. They could, they could make Todd into some, like, a servant to the wealthy upper class of London, make it a proper working class hero, or they could license with the stage musical and use the music from the musical, use the Barry Sonnenfeld score, or they could even license with the movie that came out in 2012 with Johnny Depp, and use Depp's license and use Depp's likeness for Todd, and use the music from the film.
Yeah.
There is so much potential to, and I'll be honest, like, we don't really have an urban setting for, like, all of our killers are either professional or wilderness. So, like, either they're like doctor or whatever, and they're in their places of work, or they're outsiders that live in the wilds. We don't have a killer, except maybe Ghostface a little bit, who represents the paranoia of urban life. The idea of anyone could be out to get you, and you can't let your guard down for a second, because so many people here, it's easy to get lost in a crowd, and no one will miss you if you vanish under mysterious circumstances.
Right.
And Sweeney Todd is a perfect example of that urban decay of Victorian London, that paranoia that everyone could be ready to stick a knife in your back at a moment's notice. I think factoring that into a map design, into a killer design, would be glorious, because DBD has got all about that grimy, used aesthetic. Like, everything's all rusty and horrible, hasn't been polished in 1,000 years, and it reeks. The game basically reeks with the stench of rotting meat, and Sweeney Todd would be perfect for that. Like, imagine the streets of Victorian London caked with snow and horse tracks and grime as a map, or just. Or the music, if you've listened to what's the musical or the movie, just the music. Yeah. I can't tell you how beautiful it is. Just that it's that combination of kind of folksy whimsiness and genuine threatening menace. I think I think DVD is at its best when it can elicit true paranoia.
Right.
And I think Sweeney Todd would be the perfect manifestation of the paranoia in a way that we've never really had before, and would allow behaviour to flex their creative muscles in making their own iteration of Sweeney Todd, while still having the name recognition and the clear iconography associated with the legend. It would be a beautiful combination. And sorry, I've just thought about this way too much.
You're good.
I enjoy the passion of it.
Yeah.
Like, I never thought about it.
Yeah. Sweeney Todd definitely is, like you said right when you started, it's definitely out of left field, because when people think horror, or they think of two things or three things. They think of creature feature, slasher, and supernatural. Sweeney Todd isn't the first thing that comes to mind. So that was a very pleasant surprise to hear that one, because I love Sweeney Todd. I love the concept of Sweeney Todd. I think he's such an interesting guy. And the myth and everything is just amazing. I love the what's it called? I love the idea of a snowy map, because that, I think, is very underused. We only have 2 of them, I believe. We have 2 snowy maps. Actually, we have 3, but that's cheating. Technically, we only have 1. Ormond is the only snowy map. And then the other 2 are Raccoon City Police Department and the Doctor's map, the but the only experience of snow you get from those is when you get to the exit gates and you're leaving the map. Is like, that's the only place of, snow or weather or whatever that you get when you're leaving. In terms of a map that you would actually experience, like, cool, like a snowy environment and everything like that, we only have 1. And it would be amazing to see that in, like, a Sweeney Todd chapter. That would be amazing.
Yeah. And like, Ormond's so barren. It's such an expanse of nothing. Whereas something a bit more urban, bit more claustrophobic, it would make it feel even more cold and unforgiving and inhuman. Take all the warmth you associate away from shelter and turn it into these just forbidding brick pillars that just tower over you, make you feel small.
Right. Tooten, I
Uh,
think you have a license in mind.
I could go with the obvious one, but I kind of want to hit y'all with something out of left field too.
Okay.
You know, everybody wants The Shining in Dead by Daylight. There's been video made up. Yeah. But I don't want The Shining. I want Dr. Sleep, Rose the Hat, and adult Danny.
Yeah. I vibe with
I
that.
know that.
I wouldn't exactly want. I mean, they'd forcibly have to make it look like the movie, right? They
Well,
wouldn't
yeah,
have a
of
choice
course.
there, but because the book definitely does those characters like Danny and Rose the Hat a lot more justice. But that's true for the Shining book too. But if you had to go
Like-
with vampire,
Like, I'd love to see it because, you know, I don't have any experience with the book. I don't read very well with dyslexia. So I rely on the movies most of the time. And the Doctor Sleep movie was a pleasant surprise for me. I actually didn't know it was a sequel to The Shining until I watched it. But I think Rose the Hat, with magic being introduced, even though The Shine isn't technically magic, debatably.
it's supernatural.
Yeah, supernatural-esque aspects to Rose the Hat. I felt like I've even thought of like a killer concept for her, as dumb as this may be. There's a scene in the movie, if you guys have seen it, where she tries to locate the little girl and she goes up and like soars across the world to actually land on the girl's street. I feel like that could be an interesting power in the form of being able to do that on the Dead by Daylight map, whichever map you're playing on, to actually get an idea where the survivors are, but then you go back to your normal location and then you go after them.
Oh right, you use yeah. Sorry, it took me a second. I was like, she doesn't actually fly around the world. She shines. She uses her.
Yeah,
shining,
she shines.
And then yeah, that makes sense immediately. That would be cool to like use a shine ability to.
And then to
hunt them.
Get the entity's take on the hotel and like
oh my god,
a little bit of the maze outside, the snow maze. Maybe have a callback to The Shining with Jack's body somewhere out there.
It's got to be Jack Nicholson's face though at the end of the movie.
Yeah, right. I feel like that's really, really out of left field, and I think it'd probably be hard to do, and not a lot of people would pick up on it, and a lot of people would probably be pissed because they're like, "Oh, I want Jack Torrance, I want The Shining,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I'd like to have. I think a bonus is Ewan McGregor as
yeah,
Danny.
Yeah, I think that a Shining chapter would be a little too easy, and I know that sounds cruel, but like adding Jack Torrance as a killer, there's no ability
It just sounds
you
simple.
can throw in there. There's no
Yeah.
ability he has. First off, his leg is broken, right? So like when he's chasing Danny through the maze, he is limping. So that adds, I guess, like a creepy part to him, the fact that he would be limping after you and still able to catch up. But other than that, and the giant fire axe in his hand, he's really got nothing. You can't.
Right.
There's nothing you can.
Well,
throw in.
he's 110. So what can you do?
Yeah.
He's 110 movement speed.
I mean, that was my thought when I was thinking about it. I'm like, The Shining. I mean, Jack just sounds so simple, and then I'm like, oh, Rose the Hat, maybe.
Yeah. Rose the Hat would be a really interesting one to add, and like we kept talking about vampires and stuff. That would be. It's a very unique trait on the vampire. Also, all the connections between the entity and it. And the fact, I believe there was I don't know if anybody's even heard of this movie or this book by Stephen King, Dreamcatchers. And
Yes.
He hates both the book and the movie. And the reason why is because when he wrote the book, he had just gotten into a car accident. So he was doped up on morphine when he wrote that book. That's why certain parts of it are like a little not Stephen King-y, is because he was out of his mind when he wrote that book. So he considers it not one of his books, but it definitely plays like this weird in between it and The Shining, where like, because they reference it a lot in Dreamcatchers. They even call him Mr. Gray, and I believe in it, like the book, he refers to himself as Mr. Gray. So there's a lot of connection with that, and they're feeding in Dreamcatchers off of people that have a Shining-like ability. So for the context of like what this has to do with Dr. Sleep, the entity being closely related with it, and then adding Rose the Hat, you know, as like that vampire that feeds off the Shining, matches, because all these survivors that they're
Right.
adding could potentially have Shine and potentially have the Shine. So
It plays back into Michaela. What if she has the shine?
yeah,
You know?
exactly. It
Now,
works. It fits.
The shinning when it gets sued.
The shinning. Wheat, what about you? What license would you dive after?
So if I was asked maybe a month ago, I'd have a totally different answer. But
Uh-huh.
now, Malignant. It has to be Malignant.
What?
Such a good movie.
What?
That was such a
Malignant-
goddamn good
Malignant
movie.
is such a good movie, and so I want to clarify this for like anyone listening or anyone here who hasn't seen it or hasn't heard much of it. Please do yourself a favor and find a way to watch it. It leaves HBO Max literally tomorrow, and it's absolutely campy as hell, but it is such a good time.
It was a
It's
surprise.
incredible. It's I went in completely like oblivious to like what actually was in the movie, and I had such an amazing time, and it was crazy. And I was telling friends like, hey, you have to watch this, and they were saying like, I don't know. And I'm like, don't look at anything. I'll stream it for you. We'll watch it together, and it's gonna be great. And like pretty much everyone I've shown it to is like, this is crazy. This is batshit, but it was a great time.
Yeah.
See, wait. I was, until 15 seconds before the question was asked, I was going to say Malignant, but I didn't say it because I knew you would say it.
I also knew you would.
I appreciate that.
I am probably the one guy that's gonna get thrown rocks at him. I hated Malignant, and it wasn't because
Really?
it wasn't because I think it was bad. It was
Where
just
am I throwing rocks?
insanely predictable. Like you're right, the way you said it was perfect. How it was like it's campy. The concept is fantastic. I love the idea, but the way it was displayed was campy. And when I go into a horror film, I'm not going for campy. So when I came out, I was super disappointed. But especially
Okay, so
because,
it was just a movie not for you.
yeah, especially because it was James Wan.
Okay.
Like this is a guy who made The Conjuring, right? And to me that felt like a step down, like a step backwards. But that's just me. That's how I felt about the movie. Everyone's got their own opinion on it. I'm not going to trash your opinion on it, because if you liked it, you liked it. I can see why you liked it. Just know that I can't vibe with that. I can't get over how campy it was.
That's fine. It's not for everyone, but like I think the adaptation to Dead by Daylight is not too much of a stretch, because again, without spoilers, because I think not knowing it, even though it's pretty obvious, it still is part of the enjoyment for me personally. But like just animations alone, I want to see that. I think that'd be sick.
Yeah.
Dude, I must be a stupid moviegoer. Like I must turn my brain off, because that it surprised the shit out of me. I'm not even playing.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it got me. My wife, it was funny because my wife actually picked the movie out, and I was like, oh, okay, we'll watch it. I was pleasantly surprised, but by the time it got to the end, I'm like, oh, it all makes sense now.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things I kind of hate about horror movies, when they take too long to make sense. That triggers me. And I know it's a concept, right? Like I know that there's a reason they make them like that, is to wow you and give you a shock factor, like, oh my god, that makes sense. But I think the problem with me is I'm a huge overthinker. So I was kind of able to predict the movie as it was going along. So the twist was not hard. Like as soon as that hit, I was like, okay, well, no, like I was like, no shit, Sherlock. Like it was obvious, but I know that not everybody is like that, and that twist probably was really, really good for a lot of people. So,
well, I mean, you can ready your rocks for me on this, but like you said about taking too long to make sense, that's why I don't like season 1 of American Horror Story, Murder House.
Yes,
and everybody else loves it. I don't like it.
I'm with you. I'm not gonna throw any rocks on that. I'm with you on that one. But yeah, I can see though why Malignant is why it's got a lot of praise, because it definitely is a bit more of an original idea for a supernatural flick. Like for the stuff that was in the film, it was like, oh, that's cool. Like I haven't seen that in another movie before, or at least not done that way. But but just my overthinking brain ruined it for myself. But I could totally see it coming to Dead by Daylight in some crazy cool way. Like, maybe with some sort of, like, nightmarish, because I know that, because the trailer gives it away, so this isn't really a spoiler, but I know that she's able to see, like, into whatever world or whatever the murder's taking place in, right?
Yeah.
That would be cool for that to be like the Freddy Krueger ability, where instead of getting dragged into a dream realm like you would with Freddy, you're getting dragged to a totally different scenery, or something like that. Like the whatever changes with the map that you're on, it's a change that's only temporary, like Freddy, and it will panic survivors. Like the transition alone in the movie, I thought that was really, really cool. And seeing that transition in Dead by Daylight for, like, you're running from, like, I don't know, you just finish a gen and you're running and all of a sudden the whole world just bleeds into another one would be so cool to see, especially with the killer red on your ass. So yeah, no, I could see why Malignant is so high praised. I myself can't hype that train. But Raphy, what are you gonna say about a licensed one? I think you're gonna say. I think I know what you're gonna say. Go ahead.
Go ahead and tell me what you think I'm gonna say, because you're probably completely wrong.
Really? I wasn't gonna say Springtrap. I was gonna say Chucky. You rant on about Chucky.
Nope, neither. We are gonna talk about something that later. No, I actually have two. One's a little weird, but the one I actually encourage. I want to see Naughty Bear or BioShock.
I see a lot of requests for BioShock.
Yeah, BioShock's not a shock to me. Naughty Bear's the one where, like, the little teddy bear has, like, a human heart in it, right? And it's got fangs and everything.
No, it was made by Behavior.
It's made by Behavior.
It's was
about a serial killer teddy bear named Naughty Bear.
They did.
He gets on the island, so he kills everybody. So your job is to kill a specific person in every mission.
This is a hot take for any so like Tooten. This is totally for you, man, because I know that you're like a Daylight News guy. Behavior just announced they're working on another AAA game. Like,
I heard about that.
So I would not be shocked now that I know that that's a Behavior game. I would not be shocked if they do like a really badass brand new interpretation of Naughty Bear or something.
I love it.
That would be so cool.
I love the sequel they made, the Trouble in Paradise.
Yeah.
And the original, they're both my favorite games. And I'm like, they also brought Naughty Bear as a charm recently for their anniversary.
Oh, he's in it. So he's in the game already. They just got to add him as a killer.
He would actually, believe it or not, a lot of people say it's goofy when I told him about it, but I'm like, it makes sense. He's already owned by Behavior, and he's already a serial killer, and I'm like, I mean, there's nothing nice about this guy. Like, he lives in a world, he has a narrator in his head who's a psychopath and encourages him to kill people.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel that.
Yeah, so Pixel tells him to kill people.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Wait, hang on, what?
Pixel is the narrator.
That's what I'm always so surprised to hear people say, you know, oh, well, Behavior came onto the scene with Dead by Daylight. I'm like, have you never heard of Naughty Bear, man?
Yeah, I have. You know what's funny? Behavior also licensed a lot of the licenses we have. They have licenses in Naughty Bear. Like, they have a Leatherface costume.
Yeah.
Jason, Ghostface, Michael Myers.
Yeah, they've always licensed a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It was really cool. And the trailers for Naughty Bear Panic Paradise when they were in costume, parodies of trailers from those movies. So
yeah,
or like recreations. Like Texas Chainsaw has like the ending where he's got him chasing down the highway after the bear, and he gets on the truck. The only thing that's different is that the bear on the truck is Naughty Bear.
Yeah.
So yeah, Naughty Bear I think would be really cool. They want to bring one of their original licenses in.
Mm-hmm.
If not, BioShock would be pretty cool.
Yeah, no, BioShock. Everyone wants Big Daddy. Everyone wants him. Like it's not even. There's not even like a diversion. Like they normally when it comes to like a video game license or anything like that, there is some sort of competition for who the killer is going to be. Like I remember when they announced they were doing the Resident Evil thing, like 50% of the fan base went straight for Nemesis, and then the other half went for Mr. X. And I was one of the Mr. X guys. I thought that was more likely because Nemesis.
I just couldn't see Mr. X having the power.
It was hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was just super generic, like he's a big brooding guy who punches you.
Right. Well, it was also hard though
Power.
for it was also hard for us to think of a nemesis ability too, because the tentacles I didn't remember were actually they aren't either, aren't they? The tentacles weren't something that Nemesis used in Resident Evil 3.
Yeah, they were.
He used it more in remake, but in the original
Yeah.
he
In
didn't
the
use it very
original, he
much.
was a bare bones fist guy, just like Mr.
Yeah,
X,
he just punched you.
So it was hard to think of an ability for both of them, and obviously there was that like 1% of the fan base that was like, Lady D, add her sexy ass Freddy Krueger hand, let her in. Like there were so many people that went that track. But everybody obsessed over that as soon because she just became such a meme. But in terms of like those types of characters and everything like that, it's interesting to me, you know, like there is leeway, I guess. But I guess I'll move on to mine, and I'm gonna have two answers. They're both gonna be very easily predictable. One is the one I want, and one is the one that's most likely. So the one that I want is Springtrap. That's so obvious because of my campaign and like my petition, which now has over 64,000 signatures of people who really want Springtrap in. And I remember during the Pinhead hype, Springtrap was trending. Springtrap was trending before any of the hints led to Hell. Like as soon as they did the Hell tease, it was over, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's Hellraiser," and everything like that. But before that, it was either Candyman or Springtrap. And then when they released the R, Candyman got shut down and Springtrap went trending. Like everybody was obsessing over it, and that was proof. I guess that was the stage up that my movement needed for the Dead by Daylight devs, like the behavior devs, to wake up and be like, oh, okay, this is what people really want. Like they really want this, because a petition's gonna say something about, you know, the finance phrase fans and whatever. But when the Dead by Daylight community starts popping off about it on Twitter, that's saying something else. And it would just be so cool to have a William Afton in Springtrap is just such a very interesting character. Like a murderer who is permanently stuck in an animatronic suit. He is technically dying and living at the same time in this suit, like bleeding
Zombo
out.
man.
He's bleeding pus and like coughing a lot. One of the things that I thought of would be a really cool like and Raphy even came up with the same idea. During his like recovery animation, if he swings and hits you or swings and misses, a spring lock would go off, like one that hadn't gone off yet. So he bleeds, like you just see blood or pus or whatever come out of his wrist, and then he's got to like recuperate from that, or because he's in an animatronic, or because he's an animatronic, he turns into like his animatronic mode for a sec, and he like starts dancing like a robot mascot or whatever, like does his normal programming before he turns back to William Afton. You know, there's just so much story and heftiness behind, you know, Springtrap, and it would be insane to transport that into Dead by Daylight in a way that's really smooth. Like in terms of the lore that we have right now for those games, William has been reborn as a virus, as a computer virus, as Glitchtrap. But the original Springtrap, William being stuck in the suit, died in a fire. It is so easy to just write into the Dead by Daylight lore that the entity scooped him up before the fire killed him. That is like the easiest way to slip him in right there, is during one of the two fires that could have killed him, they drag him into the Dead by Daylight universe because he's no longer needed in the FNAF one, because now we have the reborn one with Glitchtrap. So
I just hope we don't get Scraptrap, man.
Oh god, I've heard so many people demand for Scraptrap, even though he's missing the one arm that he needs to be able to actually swing at people. Because that's the thing that I guess people don't think about, is like all the killers are right-handed. Like every single killer in the game has been right-handed, and Scraptrap doesn't even have a right hand. Like he's got a bone arm. That's it.
Actually, I think Clown's ambidextrous, actually.
Ambidextrous? Oh, well, kinda, yeah. But But Springtrap missing an arm, or Scraptrap missing an arm, ruins the idea for that character. But you can add skins to Springtrap that make him look either like Glitchtrap or like Vanny. Like, he's so easily marketable. And the demand's there. So that's something that I could see us wanting. Something that we need, or something that is for sure gonna, you know, it's gonna happen soon, I know for sure, is Alien. And I know that that's a little out of left field, but hear me out. Disney now owns the rights for Alien and Predator. And Disney hates making their own video games. The last video game that they made by themselves, or with major control, was Disney Infinity. And the last one that they made, their 3.0 or whatever, bombed. They were falling out hard by making their own video games. They hate making their own video games. So what they do, in order to make that money and be able to afford, to be able to finance off of a video game branch, is sell the license. Have other studios work with it. That's why we got Aliens Fireteam Elite so quick, was because technically that deal was made back when 20th Century Fox was their own studio, but they had to renegotiate with Disney, and Disney didn't even, stress them. They were just like, oh yeah, you made this deal beforehand, and as long as we're making money off it, you go. Take it. They're gonna do the same thing with Dead by Daylight. They're gonna take Alien, and they're gonna take it by storm. They won't do Predator. I've seen so many people say that they want Predator in the game, and the reason they won't is because they have a Predator game that, unlike Friday the 13th, does not have any legal issues to shut it down and doesn't have any major bugs. It's certainly not replayable.
It also has content still coming out
Right.
regularly, like
Right.
skins and different predators.
Yeah, its replayability is questionable because even though they are adding new predators and they are adding new Fireteam members, they aren't adding very many maps, so the playability is a little questionable. But it's still alive. It's not a dead game, and because of that, why would you add Predator to Dead by Daylight if you have your own Dead by Daylight that's thriving with Predator? So Alien doesn't have anything like that. So they would totally take advantage of Alien and do Ripley and the Xenomorph. And the Xenomorph would have such amazing abilities. I'm sure. Raphy keeps talking about the eggs. He keeps coming to me with the eggs, and I feel like the eggs would be super annoying if that were the ability for the Xenomorph. But I would prefer. We've never had a killer that could like Blight is the only real one that we have that can really sprint, right? We've never had a killer that can really go ham on people in terms of speed, right?
Billy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what about Billy?
No.
Billy
that doesn't really
has
count, because
And even Oni.
What about Frogger too?
Okay, Oni I guess. But my idea for like a Xenomorph being a killer would be his ability would be able to crawl on fours, like on all fours, like go down low to the ground, and then crawl on any surface, crawl over walls and everything like that, but he can't attack. He has to he could just only move, and then if he needs to attack, he'll stand up, which has a slight cooldown, but he needs to be fast enough to be able to catch up to people, because that was the whole point about the Xenomorph, was the fact that you can't kill this thing, you can't really get away from it. It will kill you. It's a perfect organism. So that's what I'm thinking of when I think of an alien. That's why I think it's the most likely scenario, thanks to Disney, thanks to how easy it would be to program a Xenomorph, especially with Demogorgon added to the game. Demogorgon had a lot of its inspiration taken from the Xenomorph. The way it was built, in terms of his anatomy, is all heavily Xenomorph themed. So all you gotta do is stick a tail on that bad boy, and you have a Xenomorph. So, so I think that the Xenomorph is the most likely option. But if I had to, if I could pick one or the other, Springtrap's the one I would go with for sure.
When you bring up Alien, it also reminds me. Also, back to the Predator thing later. I'll have to bring that up at some point. That they can still get the license, there's a game for it. It's just a matter of reaching the licensors. But
yeah, well,
no. When you bring up Alien, it also reminds me of another character that nobody really talks about. What about Pumpkinhead?
What about Pumpkinhead? Yeah, well, he's got wings though, and I know that sounds weird.
Not every iteration like that.
Not every variation of Pumpkin had its wings.
I don't think so. No, I think only like the first one and like another one.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on. I'm gonna quit my TED talk, and we're gonna move on to the next question. So speaking of like the licensed content, Raphy, why don't you go ahead and ask that question? That's something that you typed.
Yeah. So on my Twitter, I had fans for a licensed concept to talk about between, I believe it was Candyman, Friday the 13th, Bioshock, and Child's Play. And it's kind of funny because we were talking about this before we even started this call. The topic we won was Child's Play.
Okay.
Okay.
I can totally understand why.
Yeah.
So I figured we could talk about ideas of how we would integrate Chucky, but I feel like we already did that.
Mm-hmm.
So we can still talk about that, or
I feel like since we talked about that one already, I will take that time though. I will take that extra time of that question though to say about Candyman. Am I the only one that got switched sides about Candyman from the latest movie? Like,
no,
I started off hating Candyman, and it wasn't because of anything that like he did really. It was more of like the stigma. Like he's basically, in terms of whatever power he has, really, he's just a glorified Bloody Mary. That was my original take on the character, was the fact that like he's an artist who gets killed. He has a hook for a hand, but the mechanic's the same. He's Bloody Mary. You say his name in the mirror, and he shows up and he kills you. It's Bloody Mary, and I went into the new Candyman without seeing any of the old ones. I just wanted to see why everybody was so into the new, like why everybody was still into Candyman after, so long. And then I walked out of that theater with the biggest grin on my face, and I am now a huge fan of Candyman. Like that new movie switched me over real fast. If anybody hasn't seen that yet, I demand that you check it out, because it is totally kind of what I needed for me to actually like Candyman, and it came out great. And it definitely gave me a unique take on like, okay, now I can see how he would work as a killer in Dead by Daylight. Now I can see like the power. Now I can see what he could do, what his perks would probably be like, and everything. So that new Candyman movie definitely switched me over.
I haven't gotten to watch it yet.
It's pretty good.
I loved that. Well, I think I've always loved about Candyman, and I like that they carried it on in the new one. Is that dreamlike sense of madness?
Yep.
The sense that the main character is at the middle of some. They don't really understand themselves, and that notion of, are they just seeing things? Are they responsible for all of this? Are they going mad? Is the world going mad?
Yeah.
And that's something like that. I think should be a very high priority if they try to recapture Candyman and DBD.
Yeah.
Is that sense of paranoia, because there aren't many killers who get you genuinely looking over your shoulder. Myers, Ghostface, Hag in a way with her like jump scare mechanic, and
I hate
the
that
like
thing.
yeah, it's fucking cool. And I think Candyman, with all his like, I'd like them to bring back some of the old Dream World mechanics that old Freddy used to have
with Candyman.
Yeah, like you know how he would flicker, like during the dream transition. Give him that.
Yeah.
So you're always looking over your shoulder, having to be very careful.
And you can do it with a very smooth PS5 mechanic. You can make it the bees. The bees start building up around him when he's flickering in and out, and then when he's there, it's like Tobin Bell, like Candyman.
Yeah.
And he follows them on Twitter. It's not like he's against it.
I would be Tiny Todd, not Tobin Bell. Tobin Bell is Jigsaw.
Oh, sorry. I don't know why my mind went to Tobin Bell. Whoops. Yeah, Tony Todd. Now I'm even more embarrassed because he's going to voice Venom in the new Spider-Man game. And I was so hyped about that, so... damn.
Was there like a chicken in the new movie called Tony or Todd? Like in the new movie?
In what new movie?
Let There Be Carnage.
No, Choni. Like, Choni loves Chachi. But yeah, Tony Todd is like so down for that concept. If they added Candyman, he's totally down to come back and voice him. And I love that.
I gotta say, at this point, it's less of an if and more of a when.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm safe. I'll very safely say that it's less of an if and more of a when.
Yeah. Okay, so since we already covered that question and everything, I'm gonna move on to the individual questions for each of you guys. I'm gonna start with the pixel questions because we're gonna obviously go through the order that we've been doing. So for the first question, you're the lore guy, Pixel, and that's your nickname, like for like how we're talking to you right now and everything. What made you decide to do that? Like what got you into being the lore guy?
Well, I've always been a big fan of, like, not just stories, but the act of storytelling. That's something I've always been a huge appreciator of. I was a voracious reader as a kid, and it's something that, as a taste that's grown with me. And it's actually during my long period playing League of Legends, I know it's heresy, where I realised that there was still an art behind creating characters and stories in live service games.
Right.
Because, like it or not, that game has some phenomenal characters. It's like well, mostly some of the like at least in 2016, 2017, there were some really interesting stories that got told, and that interest carried over to DVD because it blended the horror movies and the horror stories that I was always a big fan of, like independently, with these really compelling original concepts. And I'm a firm believer that any piece of media that you enjoy, if it's worth your time, it's worth analysing critically.
Right.
And I think DVD is no exception. So I kind of reject the concept of, the law doesn't matter, it's just playing the game to me. Because again, if DVD is worth your time, worth your money, it's worth you paying attention to the whole thing.
Right.
And well, as for the name of the law guy, that was just a friend of mine thought of it on Scott John's Discord server, and it kind of stuck.
That's awesome. I like that.
Sadly, I was thinking name my channel that, but there's a separate Star Wars lore guy on YouTube, and as the name was already taken, I'm very sad about that.
Yeah.
The other lore guy, easy.
Yes.
Well, obviously we know that, like, as you said when we at the very beginning of this, twins are like your ultimate. You want them to fix the twins. They're so well written. They're your favorite like type of character and everything like that.
My special favorites.
Yeah.
That's why Victor's pictured in the OBS right now.
Yeah, but we gotta ask, like, before the twins was even an idea for them, who was it? Who was your main, guy?
My first true love in this game was the Plague. Admittedly, when I started playing, I was a Doctor main, but I'll be honest, I only played for a few months, and I actually got put off the game for a long hiatus because of the Doctor rework and the Ruin rework arriving at the same time. Yeah. I was like, shit, I just grinded for Ruin, I got it in the Shrine.
Oh, yeah.
And the reworking Doctor and the reworking Ruin. I hate this game. I'm going to go back and play some more Overwatch.
Yeah.
And then I came back, and it was just, I think it was the mid-chapter after Ghostface came out. And I was like, she's beautiful. It was like, I think it was. I bought a ton of DLCs for the Teachables, and I was like, what should I try out? Which one of these new killers should I go to? And it was love at first sight.
Yeah.
I played so much Plague for such a long time, and then Twins came out, and I was like, this is weird and strange.
I don't know.
And I can't. It's weird and strange. I was weird and strange, and no one likes it, so I have an absurd compulsion to try some really stupid stuff. And I never look back. Mm-hmm. But as I said, now I still love playing Plague. I'm very interested in the update she's just received. Mm-hmm. And I think I only really stopped playing Plague because Twins represented a load of new possibilities to experiment with and try interesting stuff with. Whereas I feel like with Plague, I've kind of learned everything there is to know about Plague because I've played her so much.
Right.
With Twins represent, because of how strange Victor is and how unique the interactions between them are, there's an endless vista of possibilities between things you can do with the Twins.
Right.
And I it's like Plague is Plague's a novel, where twins are a phone book.
Yeah.
I'm still dialing all the numbers. But yeah, I was Plague main, still love her, but I just love the compulsion of experimenting just too much.
Yeah. No, I totally can vibe with that. I like that a lot. Plague definitely. I would argue Plague was the old Lady D for a while because she was the tall, super powerful horror woman. For a while, right? And she was the tallest killer for quite a long time.
Yeah, and I always loved how cerebral a lot of her gameplay was, like managing the fountains and like planning out your paths with Corrupt Purge, like knowing how to predicting where they might cleanse, maybe hooking a survivor near there, like managing 3 gens and stuff around your fountains, timing your snowball properly. It's lots of little skills that a lot of DVD players don't like to learn.
Yeah.
But I loved learning them. I loved learning the nooks and crannies of everything about like controlling the pace of a game without really having any mobility tools or any sort of. You don't really get anything for free with Plague. Everything you get, you earn. And I've always said she's one of the best metrics of if you are a good killer player, you will be able the Plague is a great metric for that.
Right. No,
She's very skilled.
Totally agree.
I've always loved her for that.
Yeah, I totally agree on that.
Sorry, I had to drink water. My bad.
It's all good. And then last question, or in terms of personal question for you, do you have any future projects in the works? Anything that you don't have to like spoil them, obviously, here, but like a tease of what's coming?
My to-do list is getting longer and longer. It's like a hydra. You cut one head off and 2 grow back.
Yeah.
Right now I'm working on a potential and problems video for Candyman, talking about evaluating the character of Candyman, what he offers artistically, and how they could adapt that into DVD. That's why I talked so much about it earlier.
Yeah.
But I've got lore videos planned for the new tome that's coming in with the mid chapter, which is I'm worried it's going to suck because it's trickster. But at least I get the wiggle room to be very insulting.
Yeah.
Which is always fun. But I've got there's so much. I want to do videos on Jeff and the Legion next month. I've got I even want to try just a film review because I like to be self-indulgent and talk about a film I love. I want it to be fun.
Yeah.
Really. But I have a huge list of things that I want to cover. It's just a matter of getting the order right.
Right. Totally.
And spacing everything out. I need to get a Stranger Things video done before it gets booted out.
Yeah.
It's just so much stuff I have to get through. There's a Michaela video I've got to get done for her release. Yeah. And I'm basically going to start working on that tomorrow.
Okay.
There's so much on my plate.
Yeah.
But I can't wait for it.
No, I totally get it. I'm the same way. I feel bad for Wheat because I told him months ago, and he knows this. I interviewed him and his community dev team on their Springtrap Dead by Daylight concept and their epic gameplay trailer for it and everything. Prior to that trailer even being released, it was the interview, and I still haven't uploaded it, and it's just because I've had so much crap thrown on my plate at the same time. So I totally understand your relation to that.
Yeah. Actually, if we could talk after this, I have an idea. Me, you, and Venom, I have a proposition for you.
Just me, or with me and Weed, or what?
Yeah, but no, you and Pixel.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right. We'll go ahead and move on to now Tooten and his personal questions. So obviously, the big ringer of the bell here. What inspired you to do Dead by Daylight news? Like, why Dead by Daylight news?
I think the simple answer is I hyper obsess over stuff. So like when I get into something, I'm into something. I eat, sleep, and think that thing. And it's natural for me to get really into something and then want to keep up with everything with it. So I'd be watching King videos daily. I'd be watching Poly videos daily. I want to keep up. And I started doing Mortal Kombat videos last year. That's when I started YouTube. And I started with news because that was the thing that I would watch the most. That was the thing that I kept up with the most. That was the thing that I felt like I could do best because I did it anyway. You know, just turn it into me talking. And I just kind of became the news guy, I guess.
I relate to that big. That's how I started. I was doing crappy Fortnite videos, and Star Wars Battlefront 2 had just come out, so that was technically my first few uploads on the channel. And then when the leak for the license acquisition for Cold Iron to make an Alien game came out, I started doing news videos on that. If you see my stream right now, I'm running an Aliens Fireteam Elite border because they made me a community partner because I was one of the first people ever to actually talk about the game. And so I totally vibe with that. I relate to that 100%. I just wish that I took up Dead by Daylight sooner, I guess. I didn't realize that, like, because the Alien game, yes, it's an amazing game. Yes, the news is there. There are way too many channels that are covering the same damn thing. I was getting chokeholded. And I needed something fresh. So when I made that Springtrap Dead by Daylight concept video, when my channel just exploded, I relate to that hard, and I'm like, okay, this is what I need to do. It just sucks because like I haven't exactly been able to keep up as well as you or like Schmuckles or Polly have been able to. I haven't I haven't exactly been able to keep up with the news for Dead by Daylight, so that's the only reason why I've been suffering on that front. But
one thing I will say on that though is like being in two different communities doing the same thing, being Mortal Kombat and Dead by Daylight.
Yeah.
The Dead by Daylight community and the developers like have been exceptionally welcoming to me, and I love that they boost their news creators and theory creators, because in Mortal Kombat, if you were doing news, if you were doing theories, if you were doing speculations and leaks, the developers, Ed Boon himself, would never mention you.
Yeah.
And it was really disheartening.
Yeah. Some communities are just stone cold like that. And it's obviously like such a good thing that Dead by Daylight is like that. The community themselves, like the players or whatever, might not be as welcoming to the ideas as some. Me and Raphy both know that for sure. But but the devs and everything are like open to everything, so they're really welcoming. And then if you get the right chunk of the fan base of Dead by Daylight, then you're set, man. You are set.
It's very different too, because like in the Mortal Kombat community, I was one of the pessimistic people, and I've went out of my way not to do that in the Dead by Daylight community.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. I'm like that myself.
Right.
Okay, so Raphy added a fan question, and I'm gonna answer it for him because, believe it or not, Raphy, my first interaction with Tooten might remember this, is like a month or two ago. I super chatted him $5 on one of his live streams.
We talked about
you super chatted $10 and I never saw you again.
It's not because it is not in any way like I didn't mean to not talk to you or anything like that. To be completely honest, what had happened was I had like just come back from a vacation, and I work as a cook. So when you come back to a job like that, you get swamped, and you are busy all the time. That's why I always feel bad about WheatDraws in our interviews, because like every time that I think I have time to do our interview, or I think I have time to collaborate with somebody, I really don't, because the time that I have for myself flies by so quick, and then it's back to my job. So I am telling you right now that this podcast thing is the greatest thing, because it's letting us, it's letting me and letting you guys and everybody like be able to connect finally, and be able to like have this free time to be able to, you know, really connect the way that YouTubers should, which is collaborate and have a connection and a community, you know. So I'm so grateful for each and every one of you for being able to join for this. And I'm super grateful to Raphy being able to, you know, have the free time to be able to reach out, because otherwise I would have, but that would have taken months. Like
I've reached out to a lot of people, but I knew I wanted to three first.
Yeah.
Because I felt like you guys would get us more than some of the bigger people
Yeah.
who have more super strong opinions of the game, like True Talent, Polly, and all of them. And we try to get Smickles in here, but he's got some.
He's busy. He's busy, and he is busy with something super important that I will not say because it's on the very, very down low. And I will not spoil it for him because this is going to be a glory moment for him if he gets it. But
subscribe to Smickles.
But yeah, so subscribe to Schmuckles if you want to see like the world basically caving around him. Like if you want to see like the Fortnite season 10 event level of hype, you know, like if you want to see that, go to Schmuckles because he's got something coming that you need to see. And same with like you guys, like Tooten, WheatDraws, Pixel. I'm telling you, something's coming for him that you're gonna want to pay attention to, like really hard. But yeah, like he's busy. So otherwise we would have had, you know, like 6. Like it would have been us 5 obviously, and then we would have had Schmuckles. Like he would have totally been down for this idea and totally been part of this, if he weren't busy with something so important. So so I'm glad that we have the all-star cast that we have here right now, and maybe next time, maybe next week, or not. Maybe not next week. I don't know what everybody's availability looks like, but the next episode of this podcast that we do, maybe he could join us. Maybe we have the full 6 here, and then we have a really deep dive discussion over like what's new and everything like that. Because I feel like this first episode is like the great introduction to like everybody that's gonna be here, and then when we do more episodes, we have all the introductory crap out of the way, like the first introduction of the game or whatever is already gone. We would probably have to go over that with Schmuckles once, and then everything else, the whole rest of the podcast could just be about, okay, where do we want to take this? What ideas can we bounce off the walls for Dead by Daylight? So that's the potential I see for this. This would be so fun. But in order to get back on track, I really derailed here. To get back on track, I donated the $10 super chat to Tooten, and that's how I met him. Was by super chatting whether or not he was supportive of the Springtrap, like the chapter, and he was absolutely down. So that question of what do you think of the FNAF fan base, I think is self-explanatory.
To be fair, it was also the only question I got asked on.
Well, that's actually an interesting question for me though, because I have no prior experience with FNAF.
Oh, really?
I never played the games. I never got into. I played I played the first FNAF one time for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Never touched it beyond that. Never cared to. Didn't really care about the story or anything. But when the teasers were coming out and when I was educated on it, when I did my research, when other people in the comments were educating me on it, like while I was covering the news, I'm like, yo, that sounds sick. You know, that sounds like a damn cool chapter.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing that I will say. This is the negative thing about the Dead by Daylight community. This is a huge call out to them because this is the negative aspect. If it's not a big screen or a very popular horror icon, like if it's not a AAA, if it's not anything like that, 90% of the time they want nothing to do with it. That
was my thing. I was so like being a part of the horror community and loving horror movies. Like I was literally raised on Halloween, watching that shit when I was like 2 or 3 years old. Probably shouldn't have been, but I was. But you know, I was honestly, the word for it is disgusted by some of the people in the horror movie community of Dead by Daylight because of how exclusive they were being to the FNAF.
Yeah. The stigma behind it was the kids. Everybody has this misguided assumption that Five Nights at Freddy's is a kids game, and the reason they think that is because parents see the game and go, "Oh, it's a stuffed bear." It's a bear and a bunny and it's scary, and my kid likes horror stuff, so I'll buy him this. It's a young welcoming into the horror franchise. No, it's not.
Yeah,
it's way worse. It's one of those. It's like that whole the GTA controversy. Even though the GTA controversy is a little biased because it literally is named after a crime, but but parents buy their kids GTA like, oh, you guess it's an open world little driving game. You can have fun. Meanwhile, in the back, their kids in the back room playing the game, and they're shooting people up, right? And like
Right.
there is a dark side to every game, but FNAF was one of the ones that really hit it on the mark. Like it is a young adult game. It was made for young adults, and it just happened to build up a child fan base. Like it just happened that, and the other thing too is that fan base kind of stopped growing. You don't see Five Nights at Freddy's merch all over the place anymore. You see it occasionally at GameStop, but it's not everywhere like it used to be. I remember walking into Hot Topic and they had an entire shelf dedicated to FNAF, like after the 4th game. But but they don't do that anymore. There's like it's so hard to find merch on them anymore because
Halloween they start getting stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's the other reason is because the fan base, the kids that were introduced to the games, they were introduced to the games within the first few games, like Five Nights at Freddy's 1 through 3.
Right.
The minute it hit 4, because 4 was the nightmare one. 4 was the one that was made to scare people, and that was where the more grown up newcomers were starting to come in, or the kids stopped coming in and the kids grew up. At this point, they're all young adults, and
Well,
we're
I mean,
ready for something like Dead by Daylight. So,
that game came out when I was like 15, and
Yeah.
I'm 23 with 2 kids now.
Yeah. Like, it's been long enough. It's been long enough for the community to grow up and mature, and they're happy for it. The community is so supportive. They're like, we want Springtrap in this game. That would be so cool. But the Dead by Daylight kids are like, it's a kids game. And then meanwhile, I also think about the amount of triggered, sweaty little 10-year-olds that play the game. You know, I don't know. The beauty, I guess, of not experiencing toxicity on console is the fact that we don't have that little chat box at the end of the game. When you guys finish a game on PC, if you're playing with that 10-year-old, it's
that came out in 2014. What the fuck?
What did?
Five Nights at Freddy's, the first one.
Oh yeah. God,
So long ago.
it's been so long. But
7 years, wasn't it?
yeah, but the Dead by Daylight, their community is filled with kids too. Every video game is filled with a kid base, so it being a kids game is a really unfair point. Like they're looking at it on surface level.
What pissed me off about it, to be completely frank, was the fact that I was seeing people on Twitter, like, and they're in their Twitter pictures, and they're very, very obviously like adults, like they're in their mid-20s, late 20s, early 30s. And it's like the amount of time having no prior knowledge of Five Nights at Freddy. It took me 5 minutes of quick research, not being lazy, to know that it wasn't a kid's game.
Yeah.
It just bothers me how lazy people can be. It's like, do a little bit of research.
Yeah.
Please.
Just a little effort. It's like those commercials though. To be honest, that's the sad part I think about Dead by Daylight is I just read a comment in the live stream that says from Pro, which by the way he's a long-term subscriber. So hi Pro. The Dead by Daylight community likes to gatekeep, and that is so true. The way that you try to refer something to the Dead by Daylight community, it's like trying to show them one of those ads where it was like, if you donate 25 cents a month to this charity, you get to feed a starving child in Africa. It's trying to do that with an interesting property, and then them changing the channel. They really like their side of things, and if anything introduces anything that they don't like, whether it's the community, whether it's the game itself not being scary enough or anything like that. I know that the only other complaint that I've heard that is a rational complaint for a Five Nights at Freddy's chapter is the jump scare mechanic. It would be a little hard, because the hag jump scare mechanic is programmable, but programming a jump scare for an animatronic that you could probably see from a mile away would be difficult to make actually scary in the game. So that's an argument I could relate to, but the whole kids game thing just is annoying because it's like, okay, have you taken 5 minutes of your time to have you heard about our Lord and Savior Springtrap?
Right.
And nobody does it, and they just gatekeep it, and it sucks. But yeah,
it really does. And I'm sitting over here Like me, I want everything. You give me Springtrap, give me Sweeney Todd, give me Edward Scissorhands. I don't care. I'm like the commercial of I want to get paid in gum. You know, I don't fucking care. You know?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna move on to WheatDraws finally, and give him his absolute time to shine right now. So, WheatDraws, I gotta say, you have these insane themed icons for perks on your Twitter. That's where your name comes from. WheatDraws is you are drawing these perk ideas and everything like that. What inspired you to do that? What caused you to go into that?
It quite literally was just I realized that you could change the icons. I didn't play on PC, but I thought, hey, it'd be cool if this was a way to customize stuff.
Yeah.
And I just did some, and some people liked them, and so I just kept doing them, and eventually it became to the level of what it is now. And it's kind of weird that it's kind of weird that I've gained a following just because of these icons, and I really have only ever done them like I'm just doing them on my own time. And there's incredible people who are super like there's people who've commissioned me for icons like Pixel who commissioned the twins pack, which was super fun to work on. And these people who are just like, yeah, you can release it for free so everyone can enjoy it. And you know, while earlier we were talking about the Dead by Daylight community and like how it can be, there's a lot of very kind people and very like enthusiastic people about just anything. And I'm glad to have that sort of side of it like involved in like the stuff that I make, or the people, or just sharing this type of it's a little thing, but I think it shows how much players care about their characters.
Yeah, I'm so happy for you that you get to experience that side. Because as me and Tooten just did the whole rant on, we unfortunately have experienced the negative side too hard. Like, we don't get the positive side very often. I am so happy for you that you are able to experience the positive side of people really wanting whatever they want in, especially in that fashion. Because you're right, I had no idea that you could change the perks or any of the things. I mean, I'm pretty sure that wasn't there like a recent oh god, what's the word?
Like when they made it so you couldn't do that anymore.
Yeah, we're you would get banned kind of if you modified the game files.
So, well, I mean, they made a change to textures specifically, which made Dead by Daylight modding pretty much impossible outside of textures right now. But like specific textures. But like what happened is when the new HUD came in, it completely like removed the ability to mod the HUD.
Oh.
And so a lot of the icon community was like kind of like, what the hell are we gonna do? And it took a full 3 months before we even got any the PTV for, I think, Trickster All Kill came out, and we realized, okay, we can mod the HUD again. And it was so nice to be able to do that because like people started updating their packs and all this other stuff. And I was really hoping that it would be able to keep making these icons because I thought I was onto something.
Yeah. Well, you are. They're amazing. Hey, let me give you a very fast shout out because I have the ability to stream my screen as well. I'm going to transition to my screen and I'm going to show them your Twitter of some of those concepts, man, because they're impressive. Like, if you could tell me that you were working for Behavior and designed these perks for the game, and I'd believe you. So, also, I just noticed 10 hours ago, Saw tweeted something out. 10/26/21, something horrifying heading your way.
Oh boy.
I don't know if that's something to keep an eye on, but that would be cool. But let me look up your thing. But they are just so impressive. I gotta buy myself some of those Springtrap ones as don't you do pins? You do pins, right?
I have some charms. I don't have as much as I would like, but I have some on a little store. That I have a website that you can find on my Twitter bio that links to all my stuff.
Yeah. Okay, hang on. Let me change the. Okay, where's the window cat? There it is. Change it to that. Look at this, guys. Just look at that art. I'm the picture I'm showing them right now is like the third or fourth tweet on your list where it shows the Bill and Ted, Friday the 13th, Siren Head, Predator, Hotline Miami. You know, Death Stranding. It's just incredible.
Okay.
The artwork is amazing, and there's the FNAF right there. Is second from the left. That just proves that just proves I'm not biased or anything. The fact that I didn't look for that first. So wow, dude, you are so talented.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, I swear, you guys gotta support WheatDraws with everything you got for this, because this is the truly creative side, of like Dead by Daylight. Because we could talk concepts all we want, but all of our concepts are definitely based off of something. The beauty and the art of the Dead by Daylight community definitely shines when you're able to do stuff like this, and you're able to modify the icons and the HUD and everything like that to your own liking, and it's just it's incredible. It's so well done.
One thing that I do want to say that like I've noticed recently, especially a lot of people are doing more like edited concepts for Dead by Daylight, like videos. Like I saw the other day a BioShock concept and for an Amnesia one from the same guy on Reddit, and they're incredibly well done. And I'm glad that there's more people who are trying to expand upon these ideas in like super like showy like creative ways, like even just outside of icons or say having like a text file, just people like really trying to do all these great things.
Yeah. No, I totally got to give you like the massive amount of credit where credit's due, because that you are just so talented, man. That is so impressive. And like you said, you did this because you thought it'd be cool. You know, you did this because you wanted to, and it totally went the right way. There's a lot of plans like that people make where it backfires, and yours didn't backfire at all. If anything, it flew like a rocket. So I am it is just so impressive, man. But showing off those packs, I have to beg the next question, which is, what's your favorite pack that you were able to work on?
No pressure.
That okay. Well, obviously it's twins. No relation. Pixel, can you mute your mic for like 10 minutes, please? Thank you.
Sure,
No, it's fine. It's kind of weird because like a lot of the packs I really do like. And it's hard to pick one because obviously like the biggest one I have so far is Blight, just because like I don't know, it's something about Blight that I'm just like able to do more stuff with and enjoy. Because
Right.
I tend to hop around between packs because I have this issue of like burning out if I do something for too long, and then it's like, okay, I got to change my focus so I have something new in my mind constantly.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's tough. I'd say if I had to choose like one for each role, Survivor would have to be Ash because it was just a fun commission.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then after I had that one done, someone that had commissioned me like almost a year ago DM'd me on Twitter and was like, "Hey, you could use the icons that I commissioned you for in your in that pack, and like go for it." And I was like, "Holy shit, that's awesome!" And so I added those in, and like Ash pack has like head on where it's Ash doing the Pepe punch meme. Desperate measures is him sawing off his hand with like blood on his face.
Yeah.
Bite the bullet with him flipping off the camera.
Yeah.
And just some other stuff, and then like for killer, that's even harder.
Right.
Like I want to say Blight, but probably has to be Cenobite. That was a commission I did in like a couple days, and like before Pinhead came out.
Yeah.
And I just like obsessed over the Lament configuration and the patterns to try to replicate it. And it just came out really nicely, and I'm really like happy with it. But like it's a really tough call. If you asked me in like 12 hours, I probably would change my mind.
Yeah.
On like which is my favorite.
You better.
Okay. Okay.
Building tension here. Well,
however,
before
Twins has a
I'm
teacup,
just messing with you.
and that's the real winner there.
Oh, yeah. That's the tea.
All right, we'll go ahead and do
I'm sorry, wait. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
We'll go ahead and do the last question for you, Wheat, and it's the big one. It's definitely the one that definitely has like the most presence in our interview before your gameplay trailer for like Springtrap came out, was with the DVD community team that you guys created with Rareth Links and like a few others to be able to create some really damn good concepts.
Mhm.
Yes.
So how did that start? Where did you guys build the connection, I guess?
So the way it started was I literally just like halfway through the day I just checked like Reddit, and top post on r/Dead by Daylight was like I added Springtrap to Dead by Daylight, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And it's like using the FNAF AR model or special delivery model and animations. And I was like, wow, this looks great. And they open up like the loadout, and I'm like, what the fuck? Those are my icons. And I had never talked to Rare Things prior to that. And I posted about it on Twitter, and people were like, "Oh, we thought you gave you credit. You gave permission to do that." I was like, "No, I never talked to the guy," and it wasn't anything hostile. I was just like, "Wow, I didn't expect to see these."
Yeah.
And people were defending me, and I appreciate that. But like, I reached out to him. I was like, "Hey, like if you could like make sure to like give credit to not just me, but I recognized First Encounter Assault's music, who is currently on our team as our guy who does themes and music, incredibly talented." Did 2 themes for our recent video in like the span of like 4 days.
Wow.
And they're probably my favorite themes. They're crazy. It's the James Sunderland theme and the Ellie from the Last of Us theme, and both are incredibly beautiful.
Oh my god, I heard that
and so I reached out, and he was super cool about it. Talked a little bit, and he said if I do something else like this, would it be cool if we could partner up? And I was like, yeah, sure, just reach out to me. I think maybe less than a couple days later, he reached out to me and was like, hey, do you want to do an alien like thing? And we're talking about it. We talked about it over Discord. We were chatting, and we were like, oh, we'll probably do it within a month. Like, he's got to program the gameplay. I got to do some icons in my free time. I was like obsessed with the idea. This is going to be sick. So I did the icons in like less than 4 days or something.
Yeah.
And I showed it to him, and he was like, okay, well, I'm like almost done because I couldn't think about anything else. And so literally within like a week, we made that first alien video.
Wow.
And we put it out, and people were like, people were like, wow, this is crazy. And it was like, is this modded? And it's like, no, it's recreated. And we recreate a stage of Dead by Daylight. And it started from there. And then after, I think Resident Evil is when we officially were like, hey, we got First Encounter Assault on the team, and we started gaining some more. We got some translators on hand that help us translate the subtitles for the spotlights that we're gonna do. Like the Springtrap one has like Portuguese, Spanish, Polish. Trying to think of the other languages we have currently. I might be thinking about the ones we have for the It concept coming up. Like we have Italian, German. Just we want to make it accessible to people.
Yeah.
And so we just get more people, and we have some more people that we're trying out that I hope to announce soon if they'll stick around, that are going to do some really cool stuff with us.
Good.
Yeah, it's been like we're just slowly building up our own like little dev team of just saying cool Dead by Daylight could be.
Yeah. No, that is incredible. Like you guys, my subscribers and everybody, you really need to check out, their channels and be able to see like the work that they've done. First Encounter Assault, everybody actually, to be 100% honest, when I made my Springtrap Dead by Daylight concept, everyone at the very start went at me thinking I was copying somebody else. And or that I got inspired by First Encounter's Assault's music, and neither was the case. It was just an idea that popped in my head because I had just played, Final Fantasy 3 on the console, and then I was like, okay, I'm bored, I'll do Dead by Daylight, and I was like, wait, but not long after that, I was like doing my research before I did the video to see like what the hype was behind it, like if there was any, I mean. And I ran into his music. I ran into his theme for Springtrap, and I was blown away. Like, it literally is like the music box from FNAF 2 and FNAF 3. I could hear that in the background going off in the Dead by Daylight theme, and that was perfect. It was so really professional. All of you guys, if Behavior doesn't hire you, they're lacking. You guys are perfect for them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we've talked about that. I think I can't speak for Rare Things and First Encounter Assault.
yeah.
But like for me, I'm pretty satisfied with not being targeted over Twitter because I don't control the balance of the game.
Yeah.
But like it really is crazy that people think that like a lot of the stuff that I do. I've seen people use my stuff for like fake leaks, and it's hilarious.
Yeah. All right. So
I want to say one more thing. I just want to say my offer still stands. You guys need a voice.
Oh
No,
yeah.
I mean, I don't think we're gonna be doing something like that, but there's a lot of surprises that we're still working on currently.
Oh.
I can't say much, but you know,
Matthew Cote
we are,
style. He can neither confirm nor deny.
but we want to make sure it's a surprise for everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally understand, man. Totally believe it. So I wanna take just a few minutes extra of everybody's time, to be able to do kind of what the rest of this series, the rest of these podcasts are gonna be like, which is just being able to talk about the game and like talk about what's new, what's going on, and what would. And I think Raphy earlier today bringing up a very controversial point is a really good thing to start with for a first episode, and that would have to be the Pinhead NFTs inspired by Dead by Daylight.
I think me and Pixel are pretty prepared for this one right now.
Yeah.
So for those in my community who are unaware of what NFTs are either digital or non-digital, because I've seen a lot that are not, that you can like order like cryptocurrency. They're either digital or tangible objects that are non-fungible, which is what the NF stands for, and it basically means they aren't worth money back, right? You are buying this thing because you want it, because you're a fan, but reselling it, you're not going to get anything for it. It's just something to invest in. And a lot of them have been based off a lot of very popular, IPs. They're making one off of John Wick. One of the most controversial ones was Finance at Freddy's. They were going to do the Faz tokens from Ultimate Custom Night, and Scott backpedaled on that real quick after he found out about the controversy behind NFTs. But Dead by Daylight does not seem to be backing off of this one. They're going to be selling Hellraiser NFTs that are 10,000. According I'm looking at their roadmap right now. So this is where I'm getting their information from. So Pinhead arrives on the blockchain as part of a unique generated collection, strictly limited to 10,000. So the odds of you even buying this totally worthless thing are very slim. Including rare, ultra rare, and legendary NFTs that will include access to in-game Hellraiser content in Dead by Daylight. So basically, their first proposal is you are spending extra money for DLC for a game. Basically.
I think they also showed Butterball as one of the silhouettes too.
Yeah,
it's worth noting that Butterball image is literally one of the first images you see on Google. Just edited.
It's a toy with the weapon photoshopped out and silhouetted.
And the Chatterer, the Photoshop, that you can see literally the chain over its left arm.
Yeah,
from the
art that they did, man, I could literally do that in 5 minutes, and we could probably do it in 30 seconds.
Yeah,
I could make something that looks more like aesthetically pleasing in general.
Yep.
I have, with a crayon on the wall.
Yeah, and
it's also worth noting that Behavior hasn't really said anything yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Scott,
this is a big thing.
Scott is a indie developer, right? He created Finance Freeze by himself on his couch with a computer, okay?
Yeah.
When he heard about the controversy, he backpedaled so hard. When a corporate entity hears about the controversy, they're like, meh. And that's annoying.
Here's the funny thing.
Here's the thing. Sorry, go on.
Here's the funny thing. I was literally just gonna say, you're about to enjoy what Pixel is about to say. I cannot wait to hear him go.
Oh
off.
no! See, I was gonna say. All right, I'm excited. Go for it.
Okay, so have you heard of this little thing called fraud? Because I think these guys might be experts in it. Because their entire social, the company Boss Protocols, their entire social media presence, from their YouTube channel to their website to their Twitter to their Discord, it was all less than a month old, and they've gone back on their own promises already. Like, for example, on the roadmap, it says it was access to in-game Hellraiser content in Dead by Daylight, but in the FAQ, it says no, Boss Protocol has nothing to do with content with the game, so their story is already inconsistent.
So there will not actually be Hellraiser DLC going with the token.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. We don't know because they're telling two different stories.
Right.
The platform itself, they seem to have their stories confused. They've claimed to have worked with Friday the 13th in the past, despite that having been impossible because of the lawsuit. Their geographical address is a virtual office in Beverly Hills, which is the same address, you might add, as the only news source outside of them to have broken the story. So the only third-party news source that has reported on this story with any sort of authenticity is tied to them. It's in the same place.
Yeah.
Like, all the information we have about this entire NFT deal is from them. We've heard nothing from Behavior, nothing from the rights holders for Hellraiser, which is Park Avenue Entertainment. We've heard nothing.
Yeah.
Only what this company has told us. For all we know, they could have just hijacked the model renders from, say, someone like Schemu, who actually makes content with these models and has rendered them in 8K from the game, and just fabricating this entire thing. And with the shoddiness of the application, the fact that it all looks so new, it's all like, all of this stuff is less than a month old, and the fact they are going so hard on damage control with emailing people like me and Tooten and Paulie to try to make us trust them with these FAQs that contradict what they themselves have said. This company, I can say with a solid 85% confidence, is a scam.
Yeah.
And it's very telling that you think Behavior would corroborate this in some way. Normally when they announce license collaboration, it's usually on a Tuesday, which is the day that they announce stuff, and Behavior will retweet it. They'll add their own little comments to it. They will legitimize it on their Twitter.
Yeah.
Right now, nothing, because it all came out on a Friday night after the workday was over on the weekend of Canadian Thanksgiving. So they're not going to be back in the offices until at least Tuesday.
Yeah.
So they won't have time to get a proper response in by then. Like, there is nothing about this that does not look unbelievably fishy.
Yeah.
I've spoken to admins on their Discord, and their stories are inconsistent. We've received an email from a man called Otto Gomez, who I took a look into him, and he's a professional actor.
Oh, I didn't even look that far.
Yeah, yes, I did. I literally, while you were talking, I literally just now Googled him, looked at his social media feed, looked at his Facebook, his website, and it's all like, he's an actor by trade. He just likes cryptocurrency. This entire company looks run by amateurs.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to break down the rest of their roadmap, and then I'm going to double down on what you just said. So the next thing that they say, on top of the very confusing whether we will, whether we won't get the Hellraiser DLC in addition to whatever money we spent for these NFTs, right? They say that the Lament configuration's next. In the near future, they don't need, not 3 months, 4 months after, and no specific time frame, just in the near future. Owners of each Pinhead NFT, which, by the way, that if that's not stealing your information, I don't know what is, because how the hell are they gonna know? Will receive a totally unique and tradable bonus NFT of the Lament configuration that offers a portal to future drops in the collection. Whatever the fuck that means. Yeah. And then
Basically, they're inviting you to buy more.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Basically, what they're saying is,
I swear.
Yeah.
Also, note that's a tradable NFT. That's like,
yeah.
like Pokemon cards.
It's not incompatible with each other.
Right. Well,
And also, someone asked in the comments of the stream, or it said, I believe Doug Bradley's wife and maybe Doug himself confirmed that he'd done some lines for him. They did. They both did, but they are not out of the question for being scammed themselves. What better way to sell a scam than to get someone like Doug Bradley on board, scam them, pay him, and then you can sell that scam like selling bread to people.
Because they admitted themselves. Doug Bradley and his wife Steph Sculo don't know shit about NFTs or gaming or Dead by Daylight. Exactly. All they know is he got paid to do some voice work for a company that makes NFTs.
Yeah.
That's all he knew. And that does not tie this to behavior whatsoever. Behavior and Doug Bradley are completely unrelated. Like, he wasn't even approached to do the voice lines for Pinhead, like in DBD in the chapter. But there's no way on earth that we'd have to be in a very strange reality where this ramshackle company that was made in 3 weeks has a staff of about 4 people, has conveniently shares its mailing address with the only site willing to report about them.
Yeah.
Story that's full of holes. There's no way that behavior, these people take a lot of care about who they choose to license with. There's no way on earth that behavior has gone in bed with them. It makes no sense. This reality is a fabrication, and you can tell because of how quickly they reached out to Tooten and myself in these emails.
They are damage control.
Which now that we've shared receipts, have realised they're all copy and paste of the same email.
Just change the address. Yeah, change the name.
Literally just changed our names. It was the exact email.
And verbatim at the top. And I don't know about you, Tooten, but I'm not going to respond. I'm just going to keep collecting my receipts, keep collecting data, and slap it down again.
I am not responding to these scam artists.
As soon as anybody what's it called? They're like, wait a minute, we're getting scammed. Both of you just have like the receipts and they're like, you're just sitting there with the hammer. You're like, you want me to put you want this?
Pixel. I honestly don't know what they expect us to do. Do they expect us to be like, oh, this clears everything up? Let's make a video saying like how good they are. You know what?
Yeah, like this is them trying very hard to stop the fucking hate train from entering the station.
Yeah,
forgetting that it's already here, and all the passengers have got out throwing rotten fruit at them, justifiably.
We'll see how desperate they get as Tuesday approaches.
NFTs are already a controversial thing, and then you add a scam into it.
Well, here's the thing. It gets worse. Like the box is only halfway through. It gets worse, guys.
Yeah.
Then they offer the Chatterer. So they offer the box before the Chatterer, which is weird because Chatterer is more. I'd argue Chatterer is more iconic than the box. No, obviously not as more iconic as Pinhead, but more iconic than the box. The box would probably be the last thing I'd get. But and Chatterer goes. The description for him goes, "You own the box. He comes." The Chatterer arrives exclusively to those who own the box in a special generated collection. Doesn't even say how many of them there are going to be. And then the last one is Butterball, like you guys were saying earlier. What other pleasures will the box unlock? The pleasures continue with access to additional NFT drops, events, and opportunities only for those who hold the box. So not only are they offering this exclusivity for Pinhead or the box that you're probably not gonna get because this is very scammy, just face value. But they're saying that if they do another drop in the future of maybe not even Pinhead, if they do a drop in the future that might have something to do with Halloween,
what?
The only people that get it are the people that bought this.
Yeah.
And that's wrong, and that's not okay, because what if they only sell 1,000 or whatever, right? And then only 1,000 people, if they follow through, get junk. And
Well, the thing that I'll say, these jackasses have balls, man.
yeah,
They came out and they're like 10,000 items, whatever. You better buy it while you can. And then they had the gall to charge $240 a piece.
that's how much it is.
Good lord! Yeah,
That's
the DLC
NFTs.
is $20. The DLC is like $20 max with tax if you're in the wrong place.
God.
but hey, but Venom, it's a piece of art. Okay.
It's a
it's Skimu's render of Pinhead.
Yeah.
Okay, here, I'm gonna double down on what Pixel said. So let me read this, because this is a description, and then before anybody says anything, I'm gonna read one more thing after that,
Right.
and that will show the shadiness. So here we go.
You ready to read?
All right, here we go. Thank you. Boss Protocol has a simple philosophy: create the highest quality content possible around high-profile IP that fans love. We've worked on an array of film, television, gaming, music, and media properties, including Friday the 13th, Evil Dead, Hellraiser, which is third on the list, by the way, so they're implying that they have worked on stuff before, Dog Soldiers, which I've never even heard of, and many more that we can't wait to announce. Alright? Now, let me move on to this next part of their website. Step into another world teeming with terrors from the most iconic horror films and monster makers ever assembled. The Masters of Horror Collection is here with the first generative collection featuring the Cenobite Hell Priest Pinhead in all his gruesome, tortured glory, created using the model from the Hellraiser chapter of the Dead by Daylight video game. But Pinhead is only the beginning. I'm going to cut it off right there and say, if Pinhead's the beginning, where the hell was Friday the 13th and Evil Dead?
Yeah.
Why did you list... Yeah, J. Jonah Jameson, I love that, but, like, why would you list Hellraiser later in the list if it came first?
Like, especially because Friday the 13th has been in legal hell for almost half a decade.
Mm-hmm.
So when did they have the opportunity to work with F13? Like, who did they work with? They worked with Sean Cunningham, Victor Miller.
And same with Evil Dead too, because being friends with Bruce Campbell's son has its advantages to peek into this kind of stuff. The license for each Evil Dead movie and show, and the Ash vs. the Evil Dead show, belongs to different people. That's why whenever you see an Evil Dead film, like the original's the way it is, the second one retcons the first one, and then Army of Darkness recaps the second movie in a different way. Like the reason that keeps happening is because each movie was made by different rights holders, and then when they made
even now they still don't own the rights to Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
They couldn't even reference it in Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Right,
But
like,
that's what makes the game so surprising, is because they have like all the licenses under
Yeah.
that one umbrella.
Yeah, I hope for an opportunity in the future to be able to look into that and do an interview or something with that, because that intrigued me. Like, as soon as I saw King Arthur in the first trailer for the game, I was like, no way did they get Army of Darkness for this. And it even doubled down more when I saw Henry the Red and Evil Ash in the gameplay trailer. But I'm like, dude, they got them all. They have them all here, everything, and that's so impressive. It must have been hella expensive, but so impressive. But the fact that the first two licenses that they list, right, are legal hells, right? Friday the 13th's lawsuit just finished. So then them referring to it as a past thing means that if they were working on anything for Friday the 13th, it was during the lawsuit, which would have been illegal.
Yep.
And then the second thing, the next property they list is Evil Dead. Evil Dead.
Evil Dead.
Evil Dead. The next one they list is Evil Dead. And which one? Like, they don't specify.
They don't also give the proper like trademark registered copyright. They don't, and as far as I'm aware, they don't put like the Hellraiser trademark like specifically like a disclaimer like belongs to like whatever anywhere on their site.
They don't.
Even then, even with Hellraiser, I don't know much about the lawsuit with Hellraiser. I covered it a little bit on my channel, but it still sounds like for Dead by Daylight, it was a miracle for them to get the license for Hellraiser in the game before it went back to So I mean, these other 2 licenses, I mean, these people are saying that they basically, in terms to normal people, I guess what you do on a daily basis, this is like winning the lottery 3 times.
Yeah.
Yes. While living in a dumpster,
And then-
because remember these guys are like a month old.
Yeah,
Right.
and then hang on. Dog, let me look this up. 2002 movie, Dog Soldiers. A British squad is sent in. Oh
It's a good
no,
movie.
they're targeting Upixel right now. A British squad is sent on a training mission in the Highlands of Scotland against Special Operations Squad. Ignoring the childish campfire stories heard about the area, they continue with their mission and come
It's a werewolf
across.
movie.
Oh wait, you actually know the movie?
Yes, I do. I've seen it. It's a werewolf movie about British Special Forces on a training exercise in Scotland. But it's a village of werewolves. It's really fucking good.
Okay. I never heard of it, so that's why I was a little sus about that one. Was like I had no idea that movie was even in existence. It's
a good.
So when I was reading that, I was like, what the hell is that? Like why are you referring to that after Pinhead? But I guess it makes sense now that I know it's actually been around and it is popular. I
They actually are
feel like
targeting me.
Yeah,
Because the movie's actually really cool.
yeah, but they're definitely trying to like piss you off here
Hey,
with
Venom,
these
can you
NFTs.
do me a favor? Do me a favor.
And that's
What?
what you do.
Can you show our Discord chat for just 1 second?
Why?
Yeah, Raphy made a better NFT piece of art.
How much though?
Yeah, I said that's about $300.
Listen,
Right?
there's only one of these, and I'm walking away with it.
All right, so this right here is worth $1.
I'll give you 5.
Alright, hang on, let me find it. Oh shit, where is it? Oh, I forgot. I got it. Oh, there it is. I got it. Okay, guys, look at this beauty.
I'll add extra nipples for those who want extra dollars.
If
That's
you
what
get-
makes them unique.
for
You get-
every dollar you add to buying this NFT, he gets an extra nip.
Dude, I'm not even lying. I pay more money for
randomly-
that being something original than what they sell.
The day there's a Mona Lisa NFT, I'm gonna lose
Hey
my
guys,
mind.
just how long are you gonna make that NFT? Like not even.
Okay,
That's
so
all.
all right, so what else do you guys want to talk about? Because I feel like even though me and Raphy are indeed the hosts, you are the guests. There's got to be something about Dead by Daylight that you feel the need to talk about here, and it's a safe space for that. So somebody throw a spitball here. Throw an idea at the table. We can talk about whatever, but I feel like the NFTs was something we definitely had to go over first because that's the hot take right now. Is everybody getting both irritated and confused about this? So I feel like
I'll
that
be
was
honest.
a hot
I'll be honest. It's 4 in the morning and my brain is just switching off.
take. No way.
Yeah, first I was like, why are you so quiet? And I was like, oh, it's late as hell.
Yeah, yeah. So I totally understand. If everyone's fine with it, I would not mind ending the first episode here, and then picking up kind of wherever we need to or wherever we want to with the next one. But I want to start off by thanking each and every one of you for your time, and being able to participate in this and do this. This has been a surreal experience. For me, for my channel, for Raphy, for everybody. There we go. And it's just amazing that like we're able to finally do this. The only thing that bothers me all the time is for my channel at least, I can really only speak for myself about this, is just me not being able to have the time to be creative like you guys and be able to do what I want to do. I'm just so busy with work. I'm so swamped in my part-time job as a cook that I don't have the free time normally to sit down, take it easy, do a nice video, and everything like you guys are able to. So I'm honored that you guys were able to take the time to use the very little free time that I'm allowed to have by my job, because apparently I have no control over my life. And
That's a bit real. That's a bit real.
And I am very thankful for you guys to be able to spend the time here, especially you over there, Pixel. 4 in the freaking morning. What a legend over there. So I'm very grateful for everybody being able to spend their time. I want everybody on my channel to give these guys like a huge welcome to this channel. Obviously, go support them on theirs. They have an amazing realm of content on all of their stuff. Like WheatDraws, your stuff on Twitter, as I showed, is absolutely incredible. People need to pay more attention to people like you in the future in terms of like the creativity and everything that you bring to like the concepts and everything that people like invent and come up with. You guys bring a lot to the table, and people need to pay a great multitude of attention to that. So I hope that you guys all can support WheatDraws on that. I hope you can support Tooten for his Dead by Daylight news. I know I referred to Schmuckles quite a bit during this stream, even though like we have Tooten. Tooten is like another legend. Him and Schmuckles, in my opinion, are side by side in terms of their level of being able to keep up to date with the news and everything like that. So they are perfect channels for you to keep posted on any of the upcoming Dead by Daylight craze. And hopefully next time we'll have both Schmuckles and Tooten. And that would be a hell of an experience. So that'd be insanely fun. But I am so grateful for Tooten to be able to spend the time to join us here with this. And Pixel, just thank you for being able to be the lore deep dive, for giving us the glimpse on the side that people really kind of ignore. A lot of people are like, oh, they added Jigsaw, I'm gonna play this game. Nobody really, a lot of people fail to see the true lore and story behind games like this. So I want to give a massive thank you to you for being able to bring a lot of this lore to light, and being able to provide different lore avenues for concepts to be able to be welcomed into Dead by Daylight, like different ways that that could be innovated and created. So just a massive thank you to all three of you guys for joining us, and obviously a big thank you to Raph for getting the whole squad together for this. And yeah, anything else you guys want to like add or say before we go off the stream, go offline?
Y'all go ahead. I'll go last.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead, Mama.
I just want to say thank you for having me. This has honestly been a surreal experience for me too. I've watched Pixel Bush for a while now. I love the lore of Dead by Daylight, and his breakdowns are incredible. And I've watched them going to sleep because like it's as weird as it sounds. Like it's just fun.
Thanks,
like
I guess.
Thanks, I guess. No, it's very calming to see something for Dead by Daylight that's thought-provoking and makes you think and goes deeper into something. And it's not just off-the-wall gameplay. And Wheat, your art is incredible. You know, I never thought I'd get to work with guys like this. So thank you guys for having me. Anytime, anywhere, I'm down for another.
Absolutely, dude. We're more than welcome to have you. Yeah. Welcome to the team. I watched your growth, Tooten. You're like it happened like a rocket, because here's the thing. There's a lot of stuff where like channels do explode occasionally on YouTube. It happens. It happened with me. It's bound to happen with pretty much everybody's channel on YouTube. Some point at some time in the future or past, some channel has had a burst of energy. Tooten, just like Schmuckles, had that burst that just doesn't stop giving. Like it's still going.
Wild.
Yeah, and it's amazing. And you're in the big leagues, and we want to welcome you to the big leagues. So obviously,
thank you.
Obviously, we want to have you for more stuff like this and everything. So anytime, like, we'll definitely hit you up. Anybody else want to say their goodbyes or last wishes?
Drawing an alien.
You're drawing an alien NFT?
Yes.
Beautiful.
I just want to say it's been really nice that to just kind of come on, hang out, talk with you guys, like meet new people, meet people I haven't really talked to before,
Yeah.
or like super often. And it's just nice to be able to connect to people and just see like I like with Tooten's videos, like I've had it leading up to the Hellraiser thing. I was constantly getting recommended, and eventually I was like, okay, I'll watch, and now I'm subscribed, and I've been really surprised to see like the growth, like you said, like we mentioned, the channel just like seemed like it just like blew up
Yeah.
from when I first saw it, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It's been crazy.
And also being able to talk to Pixel and somehow still not avoiding discussion about the twins.
Oh,
And
they should. You really think they got me on without
the twins was in the contract.
It was actually.
You're not going live at all if the twins do not get brought up at any point during the stream at all.
Yeah, it's impossible. It's impossible. It's illegal.
I'll make sure that that's in like your contract. Anytime that we do an episode, we have to talk about the twins at least once, and then we'll be good.
Yeah,
We'll be
five.
Don't worry, I'll find a way to squeeze them in.
even if we're just like, okay, please God, let's just not talk about the twins today. And they go, well, since you mentioned the twins, and it's like, ah.
My newest NFT. I'm selling it at 1 Bitcoin.
Oh no, let me see this.
I love it.
NFT. Not me.
It's the
Why'd you have to go for me?
NFT.
It's collectible.
Oh,
He's looking
God.
back.
The only way you're gonna be able to get this skin, this particular outfit, is if you get that little news cup there, and you gotta make sure you have the right brand. of coffee.
That news cup's gonna invite you to more exclusive Venom Xenomorph NFTs.
And also, that news cup is
portal.
$3,000.
It's a
You know,
portal to the new drops of NFTs. If you want the pinhead with extra nipples, you need to buy the Venom Xenomorph first. Oh God. All right. Pixel, I guess, is the only one that hasn't said any goodbyes or anything like that yet. So, do you want to? If not, it's totally understandable. I could just say my outro and
No,
head out.
absolutely. I shall just say, it's been surreal and quite fantastic to be here. Just like, especially given how weird the last 24 hours have been with the whole NFT thing.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like you're just screaming into the void sometimes.
Yeah.
But here being among kindred spirits talking about the game that we love, it's refreshing. And I know this doesn't sound terribly sincere because I'm only half conscious, but no, it genuinely has been a pleasure, if only to annoy Wheat about his icons.
All right.
But let's be honest. I can find a way to do that in my free time anyway.
Yeah.
You opened it. I came.
All right.
Jesus.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody on in my live chat right now. Honestly, I haven't had more viewers on my stream in a while. Mainly just because I've been streaming Magic, which I do kind of regret. I never regret playing it with Andy or whatever, you know. Collaborating with Andy is absolutely fun, but I know that Magic isn't exactly the YouTube scene. It's kind of like a Twitch trend, you know. So I promise to you guys, my fans, that the content that will start uploading in the following Saturdays, because I did say in an update video a month ago that I would be uploading every Saturday, and I have dropped the ball on that mainly because of work. But when I start doing uploads again, every Saturday is going to have something super entertaining, whether it's another one of these, whether it's a new episode of Aliens Fireteam Elite gameplay. Hopefully I have those recording issues fixed by then. And then yeah, so thank everybody so much. I thank everybody so much for watching. I thank all of my guests and everybody for joining me on this. I can't wait for the next episode. Now that we have like our introductions out of the way, we could totally go ham on like whatever we wanted to talk about. The perks, the new stuff they should add, could add, would add. So I can't wait to see what the future has in store for us in this Fog Wanderers group. But thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe down below. When this live video ends, I will edit into the description the subscription links for all of the channels that have been hosted here today. And as always, I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yes.
Peace.